of Primetime. Sukanik, Ortner, and Buckley here for you on a Monday following our first college football weekend. We poo-pooed it before,
well, look,
but it didn't suck.
The weekend sucked.
Yeah.
The game was good.
Yes.
The game was good, and Big Will Betts was right. He said take the under and Tech and the points, and
I think he was kind of right on the weather, too.
And both of that.
1-0 on weather predictions. So I appreciate your apologies. There were many texts, and I'm sure many were really worried about me getting due for the fact that it would rain in Dublin.
Yeah, because the forecast that we saw on Friday was like 59 or 62 or something and sunny, and it wasn't bad. But yeah, there was a little weather. I don't think it had any impact on the game. It was more of the
weatherman Willie.
That was more of the Florida State defensive line. But poor DJ. Old DJU just taking bullets left and right. And it was not the reason they lost that game, and yet he is just going to get run out of town on a rail.
Not to get sportsy yet. We'll talk more about this a little bit later.
Well,
but
technically it is. We are in the midst of football.
He is having a hard time living up to there was so much hype for him before he went to Clemson, and at each step it's just been like, oh, maybe this is the spot. Maybe this is the spot.
I talk about this a lot when I talk in the NFL draft bias. Draft bias is just it's a real mother bear to overcome. And it goes both ways. It's the Brock Purdy, Sam Darnold thing, right? Look, Sam Darnold, since he entered the league, because and I think this isn't. Sometimes people give me crap for being like, well, you always say that it's people. It's the Trump thing. People are talking, but can we all agree, the three of us, that there is so much Sam Darnold bloviating right now amongst NFL talking heads, from Colin to Yogi Roth to Dan Orlovsky? Can we all admit that we've all heard the Sam Darnold's having a breakout year for Minnesota? Right?
Is he still riding the residuals from being a decent looking quarterback from USC?
This is my point.
It's the Penn State Rose Bowl.
Yeah,
that's what he's riding.
That one freaking game.
Sam Darnold, since he entered the league, which by the way was not 2 years ago.
No,
I think he's
year 7 bump.
This is either 6 or 7.
Yeah,
right?
he was drafted in 2018 by the Jets.
2018. Since Sam Darnold entered the league, do you know? There's 60 quarterbacks that qualify for passer rating. Do you know who number 60 is?
I'm gonna guess it's Sam Darnold.
It's Sam Darnold. It not 54, not 51. He is dead last.
But this could be his year.
And we still do it because it's draft bias. And what do we hear from Brock Purdy? Well, Brock's really got to prove something. Yeah, I don't know. He's a system guy. I mean, my God. So draft bias is a real thing. If you get drafted high, we will make excuse after excuse, Justin Fields, for you time and time again. And on the back end of things, the Tony Romos of the world, nothing you do will ever be enough. It just won't. With the exception of becoming Tom Brady, right? And winning Super Bowls. You win Super Bowls, you shut everyone up.
Yeah.
But Tony Romo was a really good quarterback, and yet people constantly crap on the guy. But if Tony Romo was drafted in the top 10, he wouldn't get nearly the flack that he gets. The draft bias thing is real. And I do think that it goes for the 5-star stuff too.
Yeah.
Because when DJU came out, that was the number 1 quarterback in the class. And we heard all about him, and he was in California, and he spurned him and went to Clemson, and he was the next great quarterback, and he's taken over from Deshaun Watson to Trevor Lawrence, and now DJ. He just hasn't been good.
Yeah.
Now, here's the thing. He's not bad.
And that's just it. He's fine.
He's fine.
But he's not going to go out and do something transcendent for your program.
He wasn't great at Clemson. He wasn't great at Oregon State. And shocker, he's not great at Florida State. And the other thing with DJ is not only does he have the 5-star bias thing, but he just looks like if you create a football player in a lab. You ever stood next to that guy on the sidelines?
He's massive.
Yeah, we went down to an Oregon State game last year, and he's just enormous. He's everything you could want. You created a Cam Newton guy. He just is huge, and he's not a bad player. He's just not very good, and so. It's another stop. He is not the reason they lost that game against Georgia Tech, but he's going to get the blame. And if you want to blame him, you can say this about DJ at this point. Dude, he's not winning you games. He's not the reason why you lose a lot of games, but he is not going to elevate and save a team that's having a rough go. He's just not. And at this point, he is who he is. And yet, how much you want to bet come NFL draft season, we still have to hear about how DJ is this sleeper guy. Someone's going to think they can unlock something because of the bias, that he was a 5-star kid. But, I mean, my God, he was the same draft class. You know who the number 2 quarterback in that class was?
CJ Stroud.
CJ Stroud.
Wow. Okay.
CJ Stroud's entering
Yep.
his second year in the NFL. Look, DJ's just not. He's not good.
He's not good. He's not great.
He's not great. There
Yeah.
you go. He's fine.
Yeah.
He's a serviceable quarterback, but serviceable gets you booed in Tallahassee when you lose to Georgia Tech. When you started out as like 15-point favorites, got bet down to I think was it like 9.5, and then you don't just cover, but you lose outright.
Yeah, man. That was one of those situations where I didn't hear a soul that liked Georgia Tech and the points really all week, and the public was wrong. Public usually is.
Well, that's why you always got to be careful early on. I didn't bet the game. Maybe if you wanted to bet the under or something, but just be careful because we see it every year. There's a team, USC last year, or Clemson the last couple of years. There's always a team that we look at and based on what they did the year before, that we're just like, that they were undefeated last year, but it's not the same team. A lot of guys left. The weird one was we heard that Florida State's defensive line, that and Michigan were like the two best defensive lines in the country. Dude, Georgia Tech was a good rushing team. Georgia Tech just ran the ball down their throat. I mean, it's hard to score in the second half and you don't have the ball. You're going on the other team's going on 8-minute drives and shoving it up your keister.
Someone on the Vancouver 4 text line saying, "Whoa, what's with all the sports already?" And that's a good question.
Well, it's football, man. It's
is
football.
That's true.
It's
That's
the
true.
ACC.
Now, this is something that doesn't mean a lot to me because I think it was before my era, but also getting a Vancouver Ford text saying RIP to former WWE champ Psycho Sid. Were you I don't remember Psycho Sid.
You don't remember Psycho Sid? Sid Vicious, Sid Justice?
Oh, okay. So I know that some of these guys go through similar names.
Yeah, he just was. He had like the Jack Sigma white man curl mullet going on.
Okay.
And just probably had more roids flowing through his system than any other. He would have been the original. I've said on this program many times that I have the patented Sucanic Brock Lesnar defense, which is where I curl into a ball, cry, suck my thumb, and then if necessary, pee myself. Look up Sid Vicious, Sid Justice. He might have originated the patented Sucanic Lesnar defense system. Because back in the day, he might have been the scariest human being on the planet.
Dude, the first photo that comes up looks like if you cut his hair, he might be Brock Lesnar.
Look at that dude.
Like that is crazy. There's honestly a resemblance. That's wild.
And I think he's like 6'9". He's a giant
Lord.
human being. And I guess like he was just an absolute asshat too. Like legitimately violent and terrifying. And that guy's seen and done some stuff. Like all the bad wrestling, like the stereotypes that exist out there. Have you ever seen that? What was it? The movie The Wrestler with Mickey Rourke?
Yeah.
I think that's kind of
that's
this dude.
Okay.
I don't think he's any stranger to any sort of substance that you can put in your body.
I see.
And he died at like what? Was he had to be like what, late 50s?
63,
63?
I think.
I think that's right.
Do we know how he died? Massive coronary, I'm guessing.
Probably something that you could tie back to PEDs, aka anabolic steroids.
I mean, just every one of those guys. Maybe he died. I don't know. Oh, cancer.
I was going to say
Nope,
he
I take it back.
battled cancer for several
there you
years.
go.
I apologize.
Yeah.
But that was a good.
Well, look, dude.
That's a reasonable not assumption, but a reasonable guess.
Dude, have you ever seen like that old 80s, 90s roster of like the WWE and what was the other one? The WCW?
Mm-hmm.
Dude, those guys, they have like the lifespan of like insects.
Yeah, they're cockroaches, man.
Dude, those dudes go down left and right. First off, it's probably the most violent thing you can do to your body. I mean, I think it's kind of silly that grown men watch that, but and it's fake. It's weird when people act like it's real.
Like the third most viewed page on YouTube.
Yeah. Well, it's baffling to me because like people now like they cover it like it's real. It's like, hey, can Roman Reigns can he find a way? I'm like, can he find a way? Yeah. If the
ESPN has
WWE
started sending people like reporters to WrestleMania. I'm like,
It's
wait.
so weird.
Wait.
They're like, can he finally can
This is
Kayfabe, bro.
all scripted, man. What are we reporting
So
on?
that's weird. But
Yeah.
you can't deny that it's probably the most physically damaging thing you can do. Those dudes wrestle like 300 days a year. And back in the day, it was worse. And like, I've seen plenty of those old, documentaries and stories. Like those dudes, I don't care what sport, hockey, wrestling, MMA, boxing, there is nothing that compares to the physical toll that those guys put their body through. That's very real. And in order to maintain that, I think they reach into the bag of pharmaceuticals. So when you've lived a life that's hopped up on everything in your body that's meant to expand every muscle in your body, including your organs and heart, and then you take a ton of stuff that makes all those organs work twice as hard because it's got to speed it up. And then you put yourself through the most punishing thing you can do 300 days a year. Oh, and then by the way, you probably swallow an S ton of painkillers in order to handle it. Shocker. By the time you get into like your mid-50s, that usually leads to like I can't believe like Hulk Hogan's still around. Like,
he has the money to do the surgeries.
Like Ric Flair is another one of those guys. I think Macho Man, who was like one of my favorites, I think he had a massive heart attack driving.
Did he?
I think he was just driving down the road one day and then was like, whoops. Like it just stuff exploded. Ultimate Warrior, all those dudes, like they just, I feel like that's every other day. You can just set your watch by it. It's like a Post-it note you just move around on your calendar because you know it's a floating engagement. That's just like the way these things are.
Macho Man Randy Savage's real name? Randall Mario Poffo.
Yeah. His brother was Leapin' Lenny.
Oh.
Was it like the Genius or whatever? Dude, I loved wrestling when I was a kid.
I did too. I liked it from about 6th grade till sophomore year of high school. That was kind of my wheelhouse for it.
We had like a resurgence when we were in college because that was like when they did the
Attitude Era.
The NWO Wolfpack and all that.
Wolfpack and all that.
Yeah,
and
that's
like,
right. That was right in my wheelhouse.
For a brief moment, and then like I turned like 21, and I was like, yeah, I'm not doing this anymore. But some people love that. I mean, it's still a huge deal, and you know, it's around. Like you know, you hear stuff about it, and I don't. Hey, man, if that's what you like doing, it's just a male soap opera. It's fascinating to me the way it's covered now. It's almost going back to where we're trying to cover it like a real sport, and that to me is weird.
As if people don't know what's going to happen.
It's
people do know what's going to happen. You might, I might not, like, but someone knows. It's predetermined. It's weird.
You know, hey, whatever. If you're a grown man, put a little more whimsy in your life, and if that's what, you know, it's not any sillier than fantasy football or, you know, I don't know, anything else that males do, and it's probably healthier than, you know, than drinking in strip clubs and, you know, like golf trips to Reno. So if, you know, if that's what you John Cena or whoever the hell is like Roman Reigns or Cody, whatever, if that's Rhodes, like your
Cody
Rhodes. If that's your jam, man, hey, more power to you. Just realize that your heroes aren't gonna live that long.
You share a fair number of stories with us about what happens on your walks with your dog through your neighborhood. Do you?
Oh, yeah,
I know you do. You take the morning walk.
Basis.
Do you also do a night walk, an evening walk, or no? Not really.
No, usually not. Like if we do an evening walk, sometimes that I dump that one off on the kid. But my big guy, he's big engine, little tank. Usually by the time the evening rolls around, he's ready to shut it down.
So I always take the bougie labradoodle around the block right before the end of the day.
Yeah, a lot of people do that.
I saw something that I'm not 100% sure that this was happening, but I'm pretty sure this was happening. I don't know if you've ever seen this before. I think a woman was walking her dog on a leash while also walking her cats off leash.
Huh.
I kind of turn the corner with my dog, and I see this woman, and she's holding a leash, and I see a little animal, and then I see another little animal, and a third, and those two are kind of like following the group, but they're like, they're not tethered like the dog is. And at first, I thought they were 3 dogs, and 2 of them were just off leash and well trained. And no, it was 2 black cats following a woman and her dog. Huh. The dog had no issue with the fact that the cats were kind of just walking along behind, and they'd stop, and the dog would sniff, and the cats would stop and scratch themselves, and then they would keep moving, and this whole pack of 5 of them just kept going.
I kind of like the idea of
I think she was walking her cats, or they were voluntarily walking themselves.
First off, can you walk a cat on a leash?
I don't know.
I feel like cats wouldn't take a leash.
You can. It doesn't really work. It's weird.
Yeah,
I've seen people do it.
I feel like that cat is just going to turn and claw the hell out of you. I don't think you can leash a cat. But I'm not going to lie. I'm not much of a cat guy. I don't mind cats.
I'm not a cat person. I'm allergic to. I've always been a dog person.
I've never had cats. They're not my jam. I judge dudes that are single that have cats. I think it's weird. But hey, again, if that's what you love. But the idea of like, now this is weird. The more cats following me, I think it'd be the better. Like, cause like my dog
very
is
Charlie Day of you.
Yeah, well, my dog is just
Charlie Kelly.
I have a massive dog.
Yeah,
and the idea of me walking him and then like an army, like half dozen, The idea of like a half a dozen cats,
Marching behind you.
preferably all like rain cats, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That cat that's seen some stuff.
Yeah, some feral in nature. Yeah.
Dude, that's kick ass. I don't know how I make that happen, but let's go. I kind of like what's happening here. Just like some cats. Hey, are those your cats? Maybe, maybe not. Oh,
At
maybe
first
go
I-
F yourself.
At first, I thought the cats were like just going to check out what's going on with this dog, and I'm like, I think they're a crew. I think they're all going together. I was blown away.
This guy said Vancouver Ford text line. It works. My Bengal cat has gone on walks daily for years.
That's
He
wild.
says I'm married soon. That makes it a little better.
And I'm guessing off leash, but yeah,
I don't
I'd
know.
never seen anything like it. I wasn't sure that's what was happening, but I'm pretty sure it was.
Yeah, this guy says we have a gentleman in our neighborhood who walks his dog 3 times a day and his cat follows him.
Okay, so it's a thing.
Huh.
That's wild.
I didn't know. I walk every day and I have for years, and I can't say that
Same.
I've ever seen someone walking their cats, but I'm not going to lie. I'm on board. I kind of think it's badass.
Ooh.
If you could tell me I could get an outdoor cat that would follow me on my walks, I'd be up for that.
We have the idea for you from the Vancouver Ford text line. What about a walking gang of
You have
raccoons?
no idea.
Only we know Ka wouldn't go for that.
No, it pisses me off because he scares away all the raccoons in my yard. I'm not kidding. The amount of money that I would pay, like it's a significant sum. Like within reason, I would write a blank check to have a raccoon that followed me around. And by the way, my raccoon would not walk; it would ride on my shoulder, like parrot style, and then it would jump off and go do like cool raccoon things, and then scurry back up and get back on my like Yoda style. I'd have like a little baby Bjorn maybe in front. People think I'm being facetious, like I'm joking.
If you could have it, you
I
would.
am not. If
Yeah.
there was a way that I could make this happen, I 100% would do this. Like, cause like there's a family of raccoon that lives in one of my trees. If I could take one of the babies and take it to a vet, but like they're illegal to have, so no vet would see it. But if I could get it like vaccinated to where I know it didn't have rabies or whatever, I'm sorry, I would be raising that raccoon.
I love it. I had a buddy in college who they had a place out in Heber, Utah. I don't know if you're familiar with
I am
where that is.
familiar. I've been to Heber, Utah.
And they had I guess it was a doe on their property that got killed by a nearby hunter and left a little baby, and they like raised the deer in their house.
It's like, it's my dream. I want to be Dr. Doolittle. I've seen a lot of people now that are getting these mini Highland cows.
What?
You haven't seen the mini
Yeah,
Highland
that's
cows?
I don't think so.
It's the cutest freaking thing of all time. They're like the shaggy Highland cows.
Oh, okay. I think I know the type,
Think
but
like
how
mini
small
pig.
are they?
Oh, well, I mean they're big.
Yeah.
But they're
Well,
mini,
small for a cow.
They're small for a cow, but I mean you know, it's still a significant animal, but I'm telling you, look up mini Highland cow and tell me that it's not the greatest thing known to man, especially if it hung out with my raccoon. Schwarzenegger has a mini horse and a mini donkey, and they live in his house.
Oh, that's lovely.
He posts them on Instagram all the time. They literally just live in his house. Now, I'm sure he's not cleaning up when they take a dump in there. He's got someone to do that, but
A maid, perhaps?
it's possible. But it's he just like he smokes cigars and then like they just cruise around his house. It's the greatest thing in the world.
Well, we got to get back to Sportsin, and we have a sports guest today. The great friend of the show, Dave Bartu, going to join us at 5:15. Going to talk all things college football, get his thoughts on the upcoming season. He gets into the weeds with some betting stuff as well, overs, unders, things to be surprised by, and really want to pick his brain about some of the I guess, measurable factors that the Ducks have going into this season, because he's big on that as well. Also need to talk about 11 NFL players stuck in an elevator and their coach is fired up about it. And let's see in the news, local cyber attack delays travel, a circus accident here in Portland. And in the club today, we'll have Space Force could have some company up there, as well as we may have found a missing aircraft that's been referenced on this show before. But first, C.D. Lamb got paid. Worth every penny or just his turn? That's coming up next. It's the poll on the Fan. College Football Matrix, joining us at 5:15 to talk all things across the college football landscape as well as some Ducks talk. But big-time NFL news today. There was no urgency to get the deal done with CeeDee Lamb because I think maybe the Cowboys were hoping it wouldn't cost them quite this much. But
it always does.
It always does, and here we are.
I don't understand. It's the second richest non-quarterback contract in NFL history. $38 million signing bonus, $100 million guarantee. Dude got paid, right? Did anyone in their right mind think that CeeDee Lamb was going to take a team-friendly deal?
Of course not.
Well, when was the last...
So then why did it take so long?
I don't understand. And look, I understand that CeeDee Lamb doesn't necessarily need training camp. He's CeeDee Lamb. He's fine.
Yeah.
But when you don't have that ramp up and you're not working out with the team, we see this all the time. And it's proven, like soft tissue injuries, pulled hammies, quads, stuff like this, nagging stuff. It certainly doesn't help you at the start of the season. It just doesn't. And I'm not saying that CeeDee Lamb's going to go out and have a rough start to the season or that this is the reason why or blow out a hammy or something, but it certainly is not a great indicator of getting off on a great first step. And you knew you were going to pay him anyway. So I do not understand. Same thing with Trent Williams. I mean, I don't get it. It's one thing if you're ready to move on for a guy, if you're really going to call his bluff, the IU thing.
Sure.
The 49ers are willing to move on from him.
Yes, that's become clear.
But the Cowboys and the 49ers are not willing to move on from Trent Williams, and they're not willing to move on from CeeDee Lamb.
No.
So I don't understand the value in just taking this thing all the way through camp up until the start of the season. And Trent Williams is the best left tackle in football. CeeDee Lamb is one of the 2 or 3 best receivers. And And one of them finally just got there, and the other one's still sitting at home.
Well, so that brings us to our primetime poll question today. CeeDee Lamb's new contract makes him the second highest paid non-QB in NFL history. What's your reaction to the 4-year, $136 million deal? Was he way overpaid? Was it just his turn, as I think you may be referencing? Worth it, he's that good, or Cowboys got a great deal?
I mean, I guess it's his turn. But he's worth it if you think that that's what receivers are worth. I mean, and maybe I'm a little screwy, because look, I think now when you look at non-quarterbacks, I think it's like 9. What did I see today? 9 of the 20 highest paid players in the NFL, not quarterbacks, are all receivers, and Lamb may be the 10th. So this is becoming the most valuable position in football, and I'm not denying that receivers are valuable, right? It's a passing league. Everything is predicated around throwing the ball, and you need someone to throw the ball to. But as I've said many times, it's not the only. You don't have to have a $35 million receiver to be good.
Do you know how many guys had 1,000 receiving yards last year?
I'm guessing a butt ton.
28.
Yeah, and this is kind of my
basically
thing.
One per team.
Yeah, and like. So whether it's DJ Moore or CeeDee Lamb or Justin Jefferson or Jamar Chase or Brandon Ayuk or Deebo Samuel or Cooper Kupp or Tyreek Hill or Waddle, I mean, right? And Olave and we can go on and on and on and on, and there's more coming every year. Puka Nacua last year, Cooper Kupp 3 years ago was the best receiver in football. Right? Like, no one would question that.
No. I mean, yeah, he was MVP caliber, setting all kinds of records.
Now he's the second best receiver on his team. And Puka Nacua was a 5th-round pick, right? Like, Stephon Diggs goes to the Texans this year, and everyone's like, oh, Stephon Diggs. Can we make an argument that Stephon Diggs is the 3rd best receiver in Houston?
That's kind of what I've been thinking, and I know that everyone's like, he's A1, and he certainly was in Buffalo, but Collins and Dell are really good.
And no one knew, outside of last year, no one knew who Nico Collins and Tank Dell were. They were afterthoughts.
Yep.
And so it's just like this idea that you have to have CeeDee Lamb. If you're the Cowboys this year, yeah, you probably have to have CeeDee Lamb. But going forward, is paying a receiver $35 million a year. Justin Jefferson is the highest paid non-quarterback in the league.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken,
Yep.
still, right? He's
Mm-hmm.
number 1. And for the most part, most people believe that Justin Jefferson is the best receiver in football.
Yeah.
Him, Tyreek Hill, right? But for the most, Justin Jefferson. And this is not Justin Jefferson's fault. Does Minnesota lost to the Giants in the postseason. They lost to Daniel Jones. And now that Cousins is gone, cool. You're paying Justin Jefferson $35 million, and he's going to get his no matter who's throwing him the ball. Justin Jefferson ain't going to mean jack squat to you. It just isn't.
Well, and
the Kansas City Chiefs let what I think is the best receiver in football walk.
Yeah.
Tyreek Hill, to me, still the best receiver in football. I think he's the toughest cover. He's the biggest mismatch. Play on the outside, can play on the inside. Guy can do anything. Most explosive guy with the ball in his hands. He's a scumbag, but damn it, that guy can play football.
Yep.
And the Kansas City Chiefs said, dude, we can't pay you. And they let him walk. And can we also admit that the Kansas City Chiefs have totally whiffed on trying to find his replacement?
Yep.
Juju wasn't great. They let him go. He actually came back.
Yeah,
he signed
he's back today.
in that. And Rashee Rice was okay. Tony didn't do anything. Sky Moore wasn't a thing for him.
No,
like
McCole Hardman never really panned out to be much.
They just didn't really find a great replacement. And the last time I checked, the Kansas City Chiefs, since letting Tyreek Hill go, and I get it, they got Pat Mahomes, but for this receiver position that you can't do without, they won. Let me see here. 1 and then 2. So how many years has Tyreek Hill been gone?
3, I believe.
This will be his 3rd.
I believe
I
you're
think that's right.
correct.
Yeah.
And they have 2 Super Bowls.
Yep.
So that's all I'm saying. And going back all the way to Tom Brady, outside of Randy Moss, they won 6 Super Bowls with
Deion Branch,
and Wes Welker and
Troy Smith,
Danny Amendola and Troy Brown.
Troy
and
Brown, excuse me. Yeah.
Just people. They had the one
Edelman.
dude that there was a converted lacrosse player from Penn State.
Oh yeah, Hogan, was that it?
No, it's like you don't have to have $35 million receivers. So yes, you got to pay CeeDee Lamb. Yes, you pay Justin Jefferson. But and is it the most valuable position in football? That's what we're saying right now. I just think we're over our skis with what it means. And in media, we love to do we didn't have anyone to throw the ball to. Who's going to? That's with the Buffalo Bills this year. I can't tell you how many times I have to listen to one guy in particular, and I don't want to say it, but he's on a national show. And every day, who's Josh Allen going to throw the ball to? Hey, now the Diggs, and who's he going to throw the ball to? You got no one to throw the ball to. You don't think that Josh Allen's going to figure out how to do this? You don't think that Josh Allen can take players, and by the way, they have 2 really good tight ends. You don't think that the Buffalo Bills understand that there are other people on the outside that you can throw the ball to? We do this every year with wide receivers, and it's one of those things about the NFL that drives me a little crazy, that the narrative now is that if you don't have a Tyreek Hill or you don't have a Justin Jefferson, that you can't possibly win. And it's just inaccurate. It just is.
Well, last I've checked, the Bills have been pretty damn good with just that one receiver. And if they think that they don't need him moving forward, they're probably right, because they've been really successful under the current regime.
Because if it really meant that much and they're a smart roster construction, Stephon Diggs would still be in Buffalo. Just like when everyone said that the Kansas City Chiefs were dumb for letting Tyreek Hill go, turns out they were pretty smart.
Yep. So
smart organizations don't always just pay the freight and say, because the public says that we have to have this guy. It's just, watch the Chargers got rid of all their guys, and watch the Chargers this year go on and win like 12 games and give everyone a big FU.
Well, the way that the way that things are going, it feels like the way you build your roster is absolutely crucial. We touched on that a little bit on Friday, but we're now going into a Seahawks season with a lot of the same familiar faces, but we have a new head coach at the helm, first time in 14 years. I know that you're starting to become bullish on this team, and I want to dive a little bit more into that because they've been active recently with a few transactions. They got some news today, but what's in store for the Seahawks this season? We'll get Suk and Ortner's thoughts on that coming up next, but first, Will with the SportsCenter update. Kurt Cobain there and Nirvana. But the Seattle Seahawks this year, first year in 14 without Pete Carroll at the helm on the sidelines. It's going to feel a little bit weird, and I feel like
strange.
this preseason is usually a time to answer questions about players that we have questions about, and I'm not sure that the Seahawks roster comes with too many of those this season. But at the same time, I feel like we've just been quiet about the franchise and in general, and in what to expect. The last couple years have been very, I don't know if you want to say pedestrian, vanilla, 9-8, 9-8. It's just, there's not been a lot to be excited about, but they've been fine. And I'm wondering, as we get into it now, some of your expectations, both you and Will, for this new era under Mike McDonald.
See, Seattle is one of my sleeper teams. The only thing that stops me is that division is really hard. But we were talking about teams that didn't make the playoffs last year that could be playoff teams, or teams that were borderline and could make the jump. And Seattle was the 9-8 team, and they missed the playoffs by one game. So I don't know how much of a stretch that is. But when you look at a team the last 2 years that's been 9-8, I don't know why. And Seattle got better, by the way, in the offseason. I'm not certain why there's this weird sense that Seattle is just like this awesome round. I mean, I've seen a lot of people that like Arizona.
I have too, oddly.
And they're jocking the Cardinals. And I think it just comes down to the fact that, quarterback play in the
flashier
league.
Players.
And there's just not a lot of love on Geno Smith. And then there's a lot of hype about Marvin Harrison Jr. And maybe Marvin Harrison Jr. is the second coming. But as I just stated, I think receivers we way overvalue the impact of receivers. Because even if Marvin Harrison is this great receiver, Seattle's got really good receivers.
They've got a couple really good ones, yeah.
I think they've got 3, and there's a lot of talk about this Jake Bobo.
Yep, people
coming
like
out
him.
Of camp that people like him. And this is Lockett's last year, by the way, because he's set to make a ton of money. He'll get moved on. But you have a true number 1 in DK Metcalf. I think Lockett has been one of the more underappreciated receivers in the league for years.
Mm-hmm.
And everything I'm hearing, and towards the end of last year, the back half of last year, Smith and Jigba started to kind of come on. And there's been a lot of really good buzz with him out of camp. So to me, you have 3 really good receivers. And look, I'm not trying to say that Geno Smith is the end all to be all, but again, go look. Geno Smith has been a solid quarterback the last 2 years.
Yeah.
Not a world beater. The health along the offensive line, you got to keep your tackles happy. But if you do that, I just think there's a lot to like. I think you have 2 really good backs. When healthy, I think you have a good O-line, and I think you have an elite receiving core, and I think you have an above average quarterback. So if we're going to say that, like, a quarterback like Kirk Cousins can do something and take a team deep, and I know there's some question marks about that, I don't think there's much difference between Geno Smith and, let's say, 9 through, 15 in the league. I think he's in that range, and his numbers back it up. And on the defensive side of things, I think there's a ton to like about this defense. Secondary is elite. I think your defensive front is very good. Linebackers, again, every team has question marks. It's just the way it is. And there's some health issues on the linebacking core, but I think it's a very, very good front. And everything you're hearing about Murphy, the kid out of Texas, is that he could be an absolute game wrecker.
Yeah.
Supposedly he's unblockable in practice. We've seen him in the preseason. It's the same thing. So, look, I look at Seattle and a team last year that went on the road and had some big wins. I mean, the Lions were a team last year that should have been in the Super Bowl, right? They went into Detroit and beat them. I mean, this has been a team that has some big wins, and some of their losses have been close. I think the Cincinnati nicked them last year in a close one.
Yep.
I mean, that's easily a team last year that could have been an 11-win team. And you take a guy like Mike McDonald coming over, who is kind of the Sean McVay of defenses. They said the last 2 years, there's been 7 or 8 defenses that have specifically switched over to his defense.
Jeez, I didn't realize that.
He is the guy now that is kind of leading the charge and the defenses that he's running. So
and what is it that he's doing or does specifically that people really like?
Well, I would assume that he gives them a bump, and he's doing it because they don't have to blitz a bunch. Like he's just being able to scheme pressures and the different ways that he attacks and what he does with his secondary.
Without giving up numbers.
Without giving up numbers. And again, he has a really, really good secondary to back this up, which should give him some flexibility up front. The one thing that Seattle hasn't done the last couple of years is just stop the run.
Yeah.
And I would assume with his defensive acumen, they should be better at stopping the run. So like I said, overall, I just really like this Seattle team. It's just if they had a quarterback not named Geno Smith, I think we would talk about them an awful lot. And some of that, I think, goes back again to the draft bias that we just view Geno Smith as a career backup,
Just a guy.
and just a guy. And I'm not trying to make him out to be, Tom Brady or make him out to be Aaron Rodgers, but look at his numbers. Geno Smith last year, especially when it came to the deep ball, was one of the best deep ball throwers in the NFL.
Teams have won more with less.
So I don't know why we're just instantly looking at Seattle like everyone's jocking the Rams and saying that the Rams are going to be great. Everyone's loving the Cardinals, and maybe they are just the odd man out in this division because it's such a tough division. I just don't see how Seattle, who's been 9-8 last year, and now with a new coach, which we're assuming bumps up the defense, and the offense has continued to get better. This roster has gotten better. I don't see why or how they take a step back. This, to me, is a 10-11 win team.
The key is going to be in can Charles Cross and Abraham Lucas stay healthy? Last year, they were not healthy, especially Lucas. Lucas missed, I think, close to 75% of the games. Yeah. And that was a big deal because they don't have a backup tackle. Like Stone Forsythe is fine, but he's a backup tackle, and you're asking him to go play right tackle. And he wasn't getting the job done, so there was extra pressure getting on Geno. They weren't able to run the football to the right side. They had to run it strictly to the left. And when you can only run the football one way, teams can scheme up ways to stop that. Now, I'm really interested to see, and Suk touched on this earlier, but Geno Smith is one of the best throwers of the deep ball. Well, what does Ryan Grubb like to do? He likes to scheme up deep routes, and you have probably the fastest and the biggest, strongest wide receiver in the entire National Football League in DK Metcalf, and his hands get better year after year after year. Yeah, I'm pretty high on this Seahawks team. The big thing is going to be, can you keep those two tackles healthy with your right and your left, because you're not very deep on that offensive line. It's better than it was, but you're not very deep. And then defensively, how big of an impact can Murphy have? When you have that interior rush that can get not just to the passer, but can also stop the run from that 3-tech position, a defensive tackle, or, depending on what kind of D-line scheme you want going in, he might even bump down into that nose guard position. If he's able to be unblockable, it frees everything up. So you don't have to add an extra pass rusher and a blitz. You don't have to try and find different exotic fire zones. So now you're not having to add Witherspoon into the blitz packages. You don't have to add Kobe Bryant, who has moved over to safety. You don't have to add Julian Love, who's moved to safety, into these exotic blitz packages that Seattle was having to use in the past to try and stop the run. You can now play your box guys as box guys, and you don't have to take someone out of coverage to bring a blitz. If you can do those things, a lot of defensive wiggle room opens up, and this Seahawks team could be really dangerous.
Geno Smith, by the way, and I wanted to back this up. So he's been the starter in Seattle for 2 years, and then the year before that when he was the part-time guy. So he only, he played in 4 games.
Sure.
But I would just like to say that his quarterback rating in the 3 years that he's been in Seattle and has played is 103, 101, and 92.
You can win with that.
You can win with that. So
you said not world beater, but good enough, serviceable. If your defense is good, if
68,
you've got the skill guys around you.
65% of his passes.
Real quick, thoughts on the running game? I feel like that's been lacking in the last couple of years, and it's been kind of a who's going to be the guy, and then the guy that they think is going to be the guy is always nicked up with injury. I know it's going to be Kenneth Walker mostly, but
you got a two-headed back here. You got and most people now are going two-headed in Zach, the kid out of UCLA,
Charbonnet.
When you look at some of the advanced metrics, he's an explosive play. Like, he's a home run hitter. And so I do think that this is going to be split, but I think both of those guys are NFL backs. Again, they're not necessarily elite, but look at like what the Chargers are rolling with.
Yeah.
They're not necessarily rolling with elite guys either. A lot of places aren't rolling with elite backs, with the exception of Christian McCaffrey, who is an elite back.
And by the way, the 49ers did it without him before. They did it with guys like Raheem Mostert.
Yes.
And so even elite teams don't need an elite guy to do that.
I think to kind of pair what Will said, I think a lot of it comes down to, can you keep your offensive line healthy? Because if you can, and you brought in Connor Williams now to finally solidify that center position, they haven't had that since Max Unger left, so they're pretty high on him.
Drafted a guard,
so and I guess they're saying that like Bradford and who's the other guy, Christian Haynes,
the Michigan kid.
So they're saying that they could have a nice little rotation. There's finally maybe some depth on the inside, so maybe that helps get the run game going a little bit. I said I'm a little more bullish on Seattle, and believe me, I'm not a Seahawk homer. I just think that McDonald is going to give them a boost, and this is a better team. And when you look through 23, I'm talking about the 2023 season. With the exception, they had the bad loss early on to the Rams, which looked really bad, and the Ravens kicked the what out of them.
Yeah.
And the Ravens kicked the crap out of a lot of people. Other than that, dude, they won a lot of games. They won 9 games, and like the Cincinnati loss, 17-13, right in there. What was the other one? 17-16 to the Rams, which everyone's jockeying. The Niners have been their foil. They lost that game to the Cowboys 41-35 in that shootout. San Francisco beat them by a score later on in the year. They lost by 1 score in Pittsburgh. I mean, they were in a lot of those games. This wasn't. It's just not a bad team. It's just a team that people are sleeping on. So just keep an eye on that. The only thing is the division may just be it may be a nut grinder. Because if Arizona is good,
right,
and that's one that I don't know.
And you're not going to expect the Rams or the Niners to be bad.
No, so that just may be one of those that's just
it's just a tough year because it's a tough
road. Tough year because it's a tough road. But I think that like look at like what the NFC North is bringing to the table. With the exception of maybe Minnesota, but Chicago is going to be good. The Lions are going to be good. You've got some divisions out there where there's 3 legitimate teams. The Steelers may be a bit bumpy, but Cleveland, if they get good quarterback play, is going to be good. Baltimore's not going anywhere. I mean, there are some legitimate meat grinder divisions, and even though the Steelers' offense doesn't get going, the Steelers' defense is going to be fine. I mean, there just isn't easy outs in play there. And this may be one of those divisions where all 4 teams are battling it out. I still think San Francisco is the class of that, but it may be, a bunch of 8-win teams, and there's going to be 2 games that break the way, and that's going to be the difference between either the Cardinals, the Rams, or the Seahawks making the postseason. And I like Seattle. I think Seattle's roster, with the exception of quarterback, I think it is a better roster than what the Rams and the Cardinals are bringing. The only difference is quarterback play. And I don't think the gap between Geno and those other 2 quarterbacks is quite as big. There's a gap, but it is not the Grand Canyon that people are making it out to be.
Well, we had an incident in Dallas that involved one team's franchise quarterback and an elevator that was not working. Their head coach could not be more thrilled about it. We'll give you all the details next. Primetime, 1080 The Fan.
Oregon Duck
stuck in an elevator in Dallas. I asked you during the break, and we're not quite sure. Is Harbaugh doing bits at this point? Because I think he's a little weird. I mean, I know he's a little weird.
Strange.
He's a different kind of dude. I can't quite tell when he's playing with us and when he's not, but if you don't know the story, over the weekend, the Chargers, including Justin Herbert, 11 of them, got stuck in an elevator.
Yeah.
It was, I guess, in a blind shaft at the Westin in downtown Dallas. And there's all these quotes coming out about exactly the incident and what happened and what went down. And basically, Jim Harbaugh says, quote, "We dodged a bullet. I usually think of dodging a bullet of dodging an injury in football. You've got to get good at that. You've got to get good at making yourself harder to break. But that's a shared experience that brought them closer together. I just missed it being on that elevator. I was like, wish I could have been there with those guys. But Justin Herbert was."
And he was lauding his leadership on the elevator.
He goes on to say, Justin Herbert, his hair was a little bit wet, but his shirt was completely dry. That was another thing that just blew me away. The guy is just a beast.
He says it's a test of wills.
Yeah.
Like, what?
And he goes on to say that the remarkable thing that came out of it was, to a guy, young rookie players, Justin Herbert's a leader. He was a rock. He kept everybody calm. Jerry Fouts told me the same thing, pulled me aside after they got out, just how great Justin was and how everybody kept their poise.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Look, I'm the first to admit that I am a terrible football leader. I'm a terrible football follower. I was always struggled with the leadership, team building, this horse crap. So I probably don't know what I'm talking about. Jim Harbaugh has built a winner everywhere he went, but my God, dude, you were stuck in an elevator. Like, what sort of leadership? Oh, you just stuck in an elevator.
You didn't like liberate refugees from somewhere.
You
Like
just
he's
sat in
acting like this.
You sat in an elevator for a little bit and told people, dude, don't freak out. We'll be fine.
And
Like,
some people were sweating because there were 11 people crowded into a space. Like,
I mean,
it's just.
I guess it's. I would love to know, like, if Justin Herbert, if he just told everybody, "Hey, cool it, dude." Like, we all have cell phones. Like, we
Yeah,
call.
we'll be
like,
fine.
It'll be fine. Did it say how long they were in the elevator?
A couple hours.
2 hours.
It was 2 hours.
Yeah.
All right, so that's a decent hunk of time. It's been sitting up there for 2 hours. Maybe someone got claustrophobic. I don't know.
Harbaugh.
He helped like deliver a baby while he was in there.
You get into those situations, it's a test of wills. I was proud of each of those guys and the two women that were on that elevator. That's a win. You feel good about yourself. You were challenged. It was a test of will, and you pull it down or pull it in. I don't even know what that means.
I see. That's what I don't understand.
It was hot. Each person came off the elevator sweating, and some even had their shirt off. But Justin's hair was a little bit wet. His shirt was completely dry. And that was another thing that blew me away.
But here's the thing: like, a test of will is like if you're in an elevator.
Like, you can't give up to the elevator and say, "I'm done here."
Exactly. Like, not killing yourself. Like, that's the thing. Like, no one off themselves. Like, you're in. There's nowhere to go.
No one freaked out, had a psychotic break.
Yeah, it'd be like if you locked me in this studio. Like, if the door broke, and I had to be in this studio for like 4 hours, and then they got done. It was like, you know what, Suk, that was a real test of will. I have any choice. Like, I had nowhere else to go. I don't know how that's a test of will. I mean, I don't know. It's who was the remember the old was it the fullback, like was it Heath Evans that like had to swim 7 miles in the dark, like his fishing boat turned over?
Oh yeah,
like that dude. That's a test of wills. Like, you hear those stories, like that's a one of those things, because if you give up, like you're tired, you drown. You just sat in an elevator, but I don't know.
Well, what if someone had to pee?
Well, I don't mean, so
that's a test of will.
The test of will is you just had to hold your pee for 2 hours?
Or what if they peed in there? Then you have to deal with the smell. There are a lot of wills that you have to be tested with in that elevator.
I just think that Jim loves the idea of I think my guess is that Jim Harbaugh sabotaged this elevator.
He rode down before it.
That's the other conspiracy theory. He staged this whole situation for that bonding because he's that much of a team chemistry hardo.
I do love that he legitimately regrets not being in the elevator.
I wish I was on that. I just missed it. I actually believe he wishes he was on.
He's just a different breed.
He
and like I
is.
said, while I think that is ridiculous, that's probably why Jim Harbaugh is a Hall of Fame coach and I am not. I would fail the test of will. Actually, I wouldn't, because I'd get out of the elevator.
But if you were the coach, you'd be like, yeah, I kind of stunk for those guys. Some of them were pretty hot. And that'd be the end of that.
And then I would have been like, thank God I'm not in that elevator.
It would be some tale of fortitude and perseverance. And
that's an interesting one to me. The Chargers are one of the more fascinating teams because I think that the roster in general took a step back, especially from a skilled standpoint. I mean, you got rid of your back, got rid of your receivers. You brought in an offensive tackle, obviously, in alt. You got a new system there. You're going to run the ball. I'm just interested. I'm interested to see what Harbaugh does, because that guy has won everywhere he's gone. Does he make an instant transformation, or the Chargers kind of the also ran in that division? But it's also kind of a weak division. No offense, but Denver doesn't look great, and they got a rookie quarterback.
You don't have a lot of faith in Vegas either.
No, so I don't know. Maybe the Harbaugh will thing, and you by far have the second best quarterback in that division. Maybe Harbaugh does immediately bring and pay huge dividends. The Chargers are just a fascinating story, and Jim Harbaugh is the reason why. And maybe I want Harbaugh to win week 1 and then credit the elevator and be like, yeah, elevator tough. Like he'll show up with an elevator tough, elevator strong. Like, the Boston Marathon bombing and same thing.
Well, you know
just
what?
An internal fortitude.
You know what the strength coach's slogan is, right?
What?
He's trying to make them harder to break. Like that's the
is
whole
that their little mantra?
Yeah, they are trying to become harder to break.
Better or worse than Swerm?
I've never been able
to
harder to
break.
But I mean, it has to work. A lot of people do it. I'm not a big mantra guy. Maybe that's why I lacked the will and fortitude to be a Jim Harbaugh guy. Be harder to break. Can I just play football? That's like, I've never quit in a football game. I don't understand. We never quit. Not many people do. Most of the guys are professionals. They will go out and play hard. Yeah, but have you ever been in an elevator for 2 hours with Justin Herbert and he didn't sweat?
Coming up next,
his hair was a little wet though.
Coming up next hour, we'll see if we have any will and fortitude in Stockwatch. That's at 4:15. Then, additionally, in the news, we got a local cyber attack, back to school, but later than usual, and a circus accident right here in Portland. But before we get into any of that, 0 week delivered, and now college football is officially here. Primetime, 1080 The Fan. out. We believe he is hitting the links down around Black Butte.
I think, he's coming back. I think he was playing in the member guest, so he should be back tomorrow. I was reading about the Danny Jansen thing.
I was just going to bring that up. I'm glad you did.
Well, I didn't realize this too. Not only did he play for the both teams, but he was actually up.
He was at the plate.
He was at the plate
when the game got postponed.
When the game got postponed. So when the game got restarted, they had to make the announcement that Danny Jansen was being pitch hit for.
Right.
And Danny Jansen was catching when they made the announcement.
So if you don't know what we're talking about, this was something that happened in the Red Sox Blue Jays game today, but it started all the way back in late June, a June 26th game in which Danny Jansen was playing for the Blue Jays and at bat when the rains came on. They stopped the game and they don't end up finishing it. They rescheduled the rest of it for today, but Danny Jansen has been either waived or let go or traded for by the Red Sox, who were playing against him in that game.
Yeah.
And then Alex Cora, the manager, confirmed, I think it was on Friday, because I think I read this nugget to you. It hadn't happened yet, but that it was going to. He said, yeah, Danny's going to be catching in the game that he was hitting when we stopped it for the other team.
So technically, I mean, it sounded like, and I didn't see a clip of it, but when I was reading about it, they said that they will come on the PA and they will make an announcement that Danny Jansen is being pitch hit for by blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. And that when they do that, Danny Jansen will be squatting behind the plate when the game resumes. So, I mean, it was just kind of adding an extra little cool moment.
Baseball is cool like that. He becomes the first player ever to play for two teams in the same game.
And he won and lost because his old team won. The Blue Jays actually won.
And he got a hit in the fifth inning for the Blue Jays after being pinch hit for in his first at bat in the second inning for the Red Sox. Or no, vice versa.
Yeah.
But anyways, also saw the over the weekend Shohei Ohtani with a walk-off grand slam to make the 40-40 club. Yeah. That's pretty cool.
What, the sixth? Was it sixth?
Only the sixth ever. Yeah, we did that on
Sixth guy
Thursday.
ever to go 40-40 does it with a walk-off grand slam.
Pretty cool.
That freaking guy.
He's
and he wasn't even the biggest thing happening in baseball right now because Aaron Judge is in the middle of kicking everyone in the nuts right now.
Sure
Hit
is.
50 and 51. That dude's hitting 340. Leads the league in home runs, leads the league in OPS, leads the league in batting average. People aren't pitching to him. He's like got over 100 walks. He's it's not quite Barry Bonds like peak roid, but it's pretty close where you don't pitch to him, and when you do,
you pay for it.
You pay for it.
Yeah.
It's pretty neat stuff what Aaron Judge is doing right now. But of course, he's doing it clean because we can't possibly have can't have four incidents. I love everyone's like, well, yeah, he's the real guy because those other guys were cheats, as if we know what Aaron Judge may or may not be doing. I'm not here to throw any speculation.
No.
I saw this one too in regards to that because no one. You can't suspect anyone in baseball nowadays of being dirty. Like you can't do it. I saw this one today. It kind of relates to this, that the 30 fastest times in the men's 100 meters.
Okay.
Right? Do you know how many of those have been clean?
Oh boy.
Zero.
I'm gonna
No, it's more than
I'll
a
say
couple.
I'll say 12.
Yeah, so 9.
Okay.
Of the 30 fastest times ever run in the history of mankind, 9 of them have been clean.
So when the next fastest time gets run, be skeptical.
But here's the fun. Do you know how many of those? So Usain Bolt has never tested positive, right? There's always speculation, but he's never tested positive. He is clean. Do you know how many of those times have been by Usain Bolt?
9.
9. Yeah. The 30 fastest times
That's
in
remarkable.
history, 9 of them have been by a clean athlete, and all 9 times run by one guy. And so this is like my Lance Armstrong thing. And it's the same with Aaron Judge, right? Like what Aaron Judge is doing right now is stupid. And we've never seen it done in modern times by someone not named Mark McGwire, Sammy Sosa, Barry Bonds, right? Like we have not seen this. And we all know what those guys were doing. Not saying Aaron Judge did. The Usain Bolt thing. 30 fastest times, 9 of them clean, all by one guy. So this is the Lance Armstrong theory.
Yeah.
Either
he is superhuman and a man that has never been created in the history of the world,
or he's good at not getting caught. Because Lance Armstrong was right in the Tour de France when every other guy. There was one Tour de France after Lance Armstrong got.
What was that guy? That guy's name.
Lance got dinged.
Another American dude.
And you would have had to gone down. I think it ended up going to like 13th place in that race, and I forget what year it was, but it was outside of the top.
Floyd Landis's year.
That's it. Floyd Landis. That's the name I was looking for.
You had to go down to like the 13th competitor before you would have won a clean race. And so I just always found it hilarious
that the 13th finisher was the champion of the
Tour de France. So like it's the Lance Armstrong. Everyone was like, "There's no way he was on anything," and I'm like, so he's running. He's competing in the dirtiest sport known to man. Like there's nothing. Like there's no other sport that even comes close to cycling that as far as dirty. But there was one guy, and he was clean allegedly, and he was still doing it better than everyone else. That was just dope to the gills. But he was that much better, and there's no way he could possibly be dirty until he was dirty. So I just thought that was funny with Usain Bolt. So either
But you can't ask the question.
You can't ask the question. All I'm saying is Usain Bolt is just Lance Armstrong and is very good at not getting caught, or that dude seriously is the fastest human being to ever step foot on this planet, and it's not even close. Because that blew me away that he has all 9 of the clean.
And I mean, in a team sport realm, isn't this what we're talking about with LeBron James too? I mean, like you can't be measured as far as time or something like that, but we're looking at what this guy has done forever, and yes, he may just be the perfectly created human, but also there's other things.
He's got a lot of money, and he may be visiting Europe and anti-aging clinics, and I personally don't care. I really don't. I'm not one of these guys that gets
well, it's not bothering our enjoyment of the game.
It doesn't.
And it shouldn't.
I could care whether or not Aaron Judge is on anything. And if he is, I hope he never gets caught, because it sucks. Because then we have to go through and listen to a bunch of people pound their chest and try to claim moral superiority and blah, blah, blah. Barry Bonds, the greatest baseball player I ever saw, and it's not even close. I don't care what he was on. Lots of people were on it, and Barry Bonds was still the greatest of all time. I hope Judge is clean, because what he's doing is stupid good. But it is interesting to me that we've I think we're just out of... Maybe Lance was the last one that anyone cared about, because we've just kind of essentially moved on. Like it wasn't that long ago that we were having congressional hearings, and Marion Jones in track and field was disgraced, and all the Soviet Union's a bunch of cheating bastards.
Rafi Palmeiro's pointing his finger at Congress people.
Yeah, and now we've got tennis. We got number 1 tennis players in the world.
Yeah, sinner
getting exemptions because they had testosterone rubbed on them by masseuses, and we're like, no, it's fine.
By the way, did you see he fired his physio and his masseuse?
Of course. He's like, yeah, it's
the fall guy.
It's your fault.
Got the fall guy.
It's like everyone now, you're beyond suspicion. We went from accusing everybody, whether it was fair or not, and now we accuse nobody. We're just like, we don't want to know. Just don't tell me how the sausage is made. Just go run real fast or slam home runs and let me not care about it, because we just want to be entertained.
Well, we were going to do some college football there, but we've clearly been derailed, and that is totally fine, because we will have all week to talk college football. Coming up next, though, Will Ortner gives us the Stock Watch here on Primetime, 1080 The Fan.
Yeah. The home of dirty.
Me like you guys a couple of bookies.
Is the hype accurate or a bunch of hot gas? Before you buy or sell, listen close.
It's easy to grin when your ship comes in and you've got the stock market beat. But the man worthwhile is the man who can smile when his shorts are too tight in the seat.
Primetime Stock Watch is brought to you by 1-800-DIVORCE. When you need to take stock of your rights, 1-800-DIVORCE is on your side. Call 1-800-DIVORCE today.
Our buddy and the most interesting man in the Northwest, Dave Bartu, coming up at 5:15. In the News is next, but right now, young Will Ortner has our Stock Watch.
44 yards away to do it. He got it! And the Yellow Jackets did it! Upset and hand. They found themselves a pot of gold at the end of their Irish rainbow.
That's Joe Tessitore there
Good
on
call, bud.
It's a
ESPN.
good, I didn't want to interrupt Will. That is a great call.
Good call.
Great call. Buy or sell after losing this weekend to Georgia Tech. Florida State will miss the playoffs entirely.
Oh, I'm not making any decision after week one. I think that's always silly. It doesn't look good. I'm more concerned with their defense. DJ led the great drive down there at the end to tie the game, had a couple fourth down conversions. I'm more concerned with their defense. That was supposed to be an elite defensive line. I was told that's one of the 2 or 3 best in the country, along with Michigan. They got absolutely shredded. But it's week one, Ireland, overlooked game, who knows? And remember, win the ACC and you're in. First off, if Florida State wins the rest of the way and even loses the ACC, they're still in. A 2-loss Florida State team will probably still get in. The ACC is not stacked this year by any stretch of the imagination. We'll see what Miami is bringing to the table. So no one's out of anything anymore. So no season is wrecked. So will they? Boy, it didn't look like a playoff team to me. So from that standpoint, do I think they look like a playoff team? No. But lots of teams in week one don't. So I guess I'll say no just from a look standpoint. But the loss actually, to me, does nothing to change my opinion about whether or not they're a playoff team. I'm just going with what I saw. That did not look like a physically dominant team that I saw last year from Florida State.
Yeah, I'll sell for the same reason. I mean, this is a completely new era in that teams that can find a way to get their footing after slip-ups are going to be fine. Yeah. Now, I don't know how many of those are going to be able to do it from the ACC because I think it is a weaker conference and they may not get as many teams as the Big Ten, the SEC, and so maybe a little harder to fight for that spot now. But if they still take care of business and they've got time to do it, Mike Norvell can turn that thing around. I don't know that he will, but I think he certainly can.
The rest of the way, they've got Clemson at home, and Clemson doesn't, at least right now on paper, look to be a juggernaut. They're on the road at Miami. We'll see what Miami is. And then there's a big one against Notre Dame. There's
a lot of proving grounds.
A lot of proving grounds to be had. And just don't write off Florida season. Don't write off anyone after week one.
I did see though the funny thing that Florida State is the first team to be in 17th place in ACC history.
It's just not what you want to do when you're coming out when you're coming off a season where you're bitching about being left out while you're suing your conference because you need to get out. And then you go and lay an egg against Georgia Tech, who's the definition of a middle-of-the-road team. It's a really bad look for Florida State. You look like a bunch of clowns.
Yeah. There's a real possibility that the top 3 favorites to win the ACC will start the year 0-1.
Well, yeah, because you got Clemson at Georgia this weekend,
and
right?
You've got Miami at Florida.
Yep. Man.
Welcome to the ACC, boys.
First and goal. Clock winding down. That's Humphrey. It's touchdown, Montana State.
That was the epic comeback, the final touchdown there for Montana State when they beat New Mexico. That was from FS1.
Los Lobos.
Buy or sell. Week 0 exceeded expectations and was actually a good week of college football.
I'll buy it, even though I didn't really watch much of it because my expectations were so low. I planned a bunch of other things. I went to the Hops game yesterday. It was wonderful. I saw some of the first game. I saw that the wind was blowing very hard in the game that you just played, and then I followed on Twitter most of the wild affair that seemed like a Pac-12 After Dark game between Nevada and SMU.
Yeah, Nevada crapped the bed.
That thing was on its
They were
head.
by double digits in the fourth quarter.
You had a player ejected for spitting. You had one team using a timeout when the other team was punting on 4th and 30. I mean, there was wild stuff going on in that one. Yeah, I'll buy that this exceeded expectations. I think people thought there was going to be one good game. Beyond that, you got a couple upsets. It doesn't mean it was a great weekend, but better than it was billed, for
It
sure.
exceeded the expectations because Florida State, Georgia Tech was a good game, and I didn't think it was going to be. I thought Florida State would win by double digits. It was originally a 2-touchdown spread. Outside of that, let me just say it for the record, I could give two flying you-know-whats about anything else that happened. No offense to Montana State, no offense to Nevada, Delaware State, I don't care. I know Montana and Montana State are great football programs in their divisions up in Montana. Sorry, I don't care. I got better things to do with my time. So it exceeded it because it gave me, in the morning when I had nothing going on, that gave me a good football game. Outside of that, Montana State, go away.
Hey, watch Touchdown Tommy. He's greatness.
No, I'm good. I'm all right.
High fly ball, deep left center. Doyle back. See ya. Boarding flight 50 home runs. Aaron Judge has done it again.
That's Aaron Judge hitting his 50th home run of the year. That comes to us from the Yes Network. He ended up hitting his 51st later on in the weekend. Buy or sell, Aaron Judge will break, air quotes, his own home run record.
I mean, he's on pace, and he's hitting a high number. Again, they're not even really pitching to him.
And I think that's what it's going to depend on, honestly.
Yeah, just if he look, if
he
they
gets the opportunity.
if they throw to him, he's on an absolute.
He could get
tear.
to 65. No, I really think he could.
Yes. So will he? And they're in a race. There is some protection around him.
Yeah.
You know, we've got some guys getting healthy there. Stanton's knocking umpires out with bats. Yeah, I'll say
I didn't see that.
Oh, dude, you didn't
His
see
bat
it?
broke and
Dude, it is bad.
Oh, no.
Right? Like kind of the chin, back of the head is bad stuff. They had to meat wagon him out of there. I think he's okay, but it looked bad. He did the old boxer like whoa, wobble. No good. Yeah, I'll say it. He gets it. He gets his. He gets the quote unofficial record. What he's doing right now is just he's stupid good.
Fly ball, right center field. Series going back. He's at the track. He's at the wall. 40-40. Walk-off grand slam. No way.
That comes to us from Spectrum LA. That was Shohei Ohtani getting into the 40-40 club with walk-off grand slam to win the game for the Dodgers. Buy or sell, with a month left, Shohei will become the first ever 50-50 player.
I saw this.
I hope so.
I saw this suggestion come in on the Vancouver Ford text line. I kind of think it might happen. You've basically got 5 weeks left, and I things maybe have to break right. He's got to stay hot as a hitter, but yeah, I mean, I think it's doable. We saw recently Ronald Acuna get to like 73 steals in a year that he had 40 home runs. And so I think the steals can be done if the will is there to do it. I think the opportunity will be there to do it. The home run part might even be harder, I think, for me to get to, but I think it's going to happen. Yeah, I'll buy it.
Yeah, Soriano is the most. He had 46 homers with 40 steals. So that's just. I'm going to say no. That's a lot. It's a lot of pressure. I mean, the Judge thing is a lot of pressure. There's a reason why no one's ever done it in baseball history.
Yep.
So do I hope he does it? I love Shohei Ohtani. I think he's awesome. And I love to see baseball get this kind of love. And by the way, Aaron Judge is about as good a guy as you could hope. Despite what that douchey Long Island Little League World Series coach had.
Should wave to the kids.
That guy can seriously go take a flying.
If
whatever.
you've been a Little League coach for like 20 plus years, you're the problem, buddy.
Yeah, exactly. You are a giant Staten Island
Got to
jackass.
feed his family somehow.
And you're the reason why we all hate Staten Island. I just love that you've got, New York, LA, American National League, arguably the two biggest stars, not arguably, the two biggest stars in baseball, and they're both putting up monster numbers with a lot of fanfare around it. So I think it'd be awesome. Dude, if Judge gets to 65 and Ohtani goes 50-50, just MVPs, that is absolutely kick-ass. So I want it to happen, but at least with Judge, it's one thing. With Ohtani, you got to get 10 more of each.
Yeah.
That's
9
asking.
more. He hit another home run last night.
Oh, all right.
you
So
go.
9 more. That's asking a lot. It's asking a lot. Who knows at the end of the year, does he have stuff to play for? Do they start resting him? I mean, who knows? So I'm going to say no, but I want it. I think that would be absolutely awesome because that guy, he's my favorite player to come around in a while.
Yeah, maybe I'm just trying to manifest it with the bye. It's probably less likely than it is more likely, but I also want to see it happen. And I hate the Dodgers, but I really like Shohei. That is your Stock Watch, brought to you by Goldberg Jones Divorce for Men. You can reach out to them at 1-800-DIVORCE, Portland's premier family law firm for men. The divorce for men at Goldberg Jones are dedicated representing Oregon's husbands and fathers in divorce, child custody, and child support. Coming up next, it's time for In the News, but first, Ortner has SportsCenter. Monday. It is, gosh, I don't even know the date. It is Monday, August 26th. We're off to a great start. It is time for In the News. I'm your stand-in newsman. Hello. I'd say please be seated, but everyone already is.
So maybe someone out there is walking around. I don't know. I listen to this the morning program when I'm walking my dog.
You know what? Someone else out there is walking because I saw Miss Taylor Mathis had another walking bets today through the airport.
There you go.
Yeah.
Through the Portland airport?
Through an airport. I don't know.
Airport.
She was trying to do a little engagement farming, saying, "Guess what airport I'm in?" Get those comments up.
I really wanted to know which one it was.
We've got the UPS. Will's out there trying to stalk her. Will, I tried to make it happen for you. I was at a gathering. There was a blazer dancer there who was in the market. I tried pushing you, but I don't think she likes the old line.
I don't know that I like you out there showing pictures of me to random hots around town.
I tried making it happen for you, man.
Worse things could be happening.
I don't know. No,
I was talking you up, man. I was making a hard.
I don't believe
Actually,
that this happened. I
you know
believe that you were like, oh, there's a single dancer.
On second
I'm
thought,
gonna
don't
pretend
show
that I
Will to the
talked to
blazer dancer.
Yeah,
Don't.
here's the thing. Like, you're
I don't know
trying
that I
to-
like that.
What a thing you're doing for him, and you're being poo-pooed.
I was at a social. I was at the Asian family gathering, and there was a girl lamenting. A young blazer dancer was lamenting the lack of quality, nice guys out there, and she was young and in her 20s, and I was like, and she liked athletes. I was like, I got a great guy. He's like, he's nice as can be, but I think she was looking for more of a rugged cowboy type. She said. So.
Well, I
You know
have
what?
a Coors Cowboy rodeo hat, but whatever.
Yeah, I tried. Like I made a
I don't-
strong,
look,
I
I
made a
don't
strong
think you
push,
did.
but she wasn't. No, I'm telling you, I was making a strong push for you, man. I tried for like 20 minutes. We went through your Instagram. I was like, no, he's
What?
a great guy.
You
I even
like
talked
Instagram?
I talked about the teaching credentials that you could be going on to get like a master's. I was talking you up. College football
This
star.
terrifies me.
Yeah.
I think
look at this.
I-
You're trying
I mean-
to do like this isn't
No,
like
and
this
by
is
the way,
terrifying.
I have seen firsthand how well this can work. One of my best friends was set up with a blazer dancer who was ready for a nice guy who was stable and brought a lot to the table. They now have 2 kids that are expecting their third. Great little thing they've got going on.
Yeah, note to self.
I'm
No,
terrified.
don't try
Terrified
to
of
don't
meeting
try
a
to
blazer
help.
dancer?
Yeah, what
No,
do you-
terrified of him trying to set me up with people.
Well, okay, but would you rather have
scared.
that or no one trying to matchmake for you with a blazer dancer?
Go ask Joe Fisher how that worked
Yeah,
out.
that's exactly right.
You didn't play a part in that.
He played the part in that.
Did you really?
I'm the only reason why that
Yes.
happened.
Oh, I thought
made
you.
the
I
intro.
thought others were at work on that one.
No, man, I'm making dreams happen. I try to help Will out by hooking him with a hot Asian blazer dancer, and this is the thanks I get.
Didn't try hard enough.
I didn't.
I didn't get a text. I don't have a DM.
I don't know. The fact that you were on his Insta and invested
you
20
don't
minutes, I
follow
think
me.
you did try enough.
You
tried.
don't follow me. That is weird. That
Oh,
you
is he
found
stalking
my
you on the
Instagram
gram?
I didn't know
quickly.
how she wanted to see photos, and I didn't know how else to find photos of you.
It's interesting that you're able to find it quickly.
Well, it's just Will Orton.
You
Never
search
got a
Will
follow
Ortner.
back.
Is there other Will Ortners?
Oh, he's
There's plenty.
upset that you haven't boosted his social media game.
Need
Problem
that
is that when you
follower.
Google just Will Ortner, like images, it's all like old Big Will photos.
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
From
yeah.
like the college
Big
days.
Will
There's a
Vance.
lot of hair.
And we didn't want that's not an accurate description.
No.
So we had to go find new Will Ortner, but sorry man, I tried.
The Vancouver text line is very upset with me.
Yeah, as they should be. It is National Dog Day. How about that?
I love the dogs.
I feel like on
Life
these
is
national
better.
days, there are about 16 of these where it's like a National Pet Your Dog Day or a National Adopt a Dog Day. But
I
National Dog Day.
I have not had a day in my life since 1999 where I have not had a dog. I have never I've never had one where when it passed I was dogless.
Yeah.
I've always and now I'm a little scared. My guy's young,
Yeah.
but
The big dogs.
It's the only time I've got one.
Yeah.
So if something were to happen to the big fella, if Ka goes down, I would be dogless for the first time in, going on 30 years. My life's not the same without one.
I've been dogless before. I mean, I've almost always had a dog in my life, but we were a one-dog family growing up, and so there was always a gap between dogs, and I hated that time. I
My
mean,
life
it's
is just better. There's something good when I come home. I need
that energy in the home is
Yes,
wonderful.
yes.
I'm all about that.
He likes his plushie toys, and I open the door, and the first thing I see is just this giant thing with like a Winnie the Pooh or a hedgehog, like heading towards me, and it just no matter what's going on in my day, that makes it better. Love my guy.
Also, National Cherry Popsicle Day. That do anything for you?
Oh, get out of here.
Yeah, I kind of agree.
Just say for the record, the popsicle in general,
Kind of mid.
Get out of here. maybe I'll take an Otter Pop or something, but the actual like old school popsicle, go away.
It is National Web Mistress Day.
I don't know what that is.
At first, I thought it sounded salacious, like, you know, your online fling that you've hooked up with or something like that, or like, you know, if you're doing something behind someone's back. No, like the person who runs your website at work is just your webmaster. It's just a woman who's doing webmaster jobs.
Oh, that's not nearly as cool.
Although
I thought we were into like some sort of
I know
like Heidi Fleiss, Madam sort of thing.
No,
I was like, all right.
not nearly that exciting. This weekend in Portland, Cirque du Soleil was in town. Did you hear about this?
Yeah, we got someone got carted off. Someone got meat wagoned out of there, right?
That's exactly right. So the event was called Kuza. I guess that's the show that's going around right now. And Russian aerialist Maria Konfektova fell from the aerial hoop in the first act. I didn't see video of it. It says the apparatus was like a sturdy hula hoop that's suspended over wire on the stage.
I know of what they. I've seen these before, and they like sit in them, and then they rock back, and yeah, it's a big ring, big hula hoop. I've seen that.
And so, yeah, the spokesperson released the following event afterwards, saying that in accordance with their emergency procedures, they stopped the show briefly. The artist was immediately assisted by the tour intervention team and transported to the hospital for examination.
Boy, I'll tell you what, that's a weird. You know, you're there enjoying Cirque du Soleil, and then you're just like, plop.
Well, and there are witnesses that were there that, I mean, obviously, you know, they're not doing bits or whatever, but when she fell off, they're like, oh, maybe she was trying to dismount or whatever, and then they're like, wait a second, everyone else looks really terrified, and
what?
Creates a tense moment.
That can't be the only time that's happened. I mean, it's got to be scary. I mean, you kind of forget, that's life and death stuff that those people are up there doing. Some of those people are like 40, 50 feet in the air, and they're doing flips and all that. It's like, whoops.
Yeah.
And I don't know, like on this one, if they have nets or whatnot, but it's no bueno.
It's the spokesperson added, as of Sunday afternoon, the performer was conscious, stable, and being cared for by medical specialists and their team. So not a whole lot of information on the severity or the details around the injuries, and probably won't get that with HIPAA stuff, but kind of a scary moment there.
Yeah, I think about that sometimes whenever you're at one of those shows. And I was at a reptile show once, and like all hell broke loose.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, the dude got bit. And
no.
And then like
Were you like a SeaWorld type place or what?
No, it was like we were at a summer camp sort of thing. I was like one of the counselors, and like one of the big, what are they, like the big monitor lizards? It's not like a kimono dragon, but like a giant ass lizard.
Yeah.
It's like the size of like a medium dog.
They have them at the Oregon or the Portland Zoo. Those monitors, they're huge. They're
bit
crazy.
the dude in the arm, and the guy like freaked out and tried to pull his arm away, and then the monitor lizard like flung around, and then he knocked over a thing, and then the snake came out, and then like there was then there was a cobra, and it was out on the ground.
Cobra came out?
Yeah, and I don't know to this day if it was defanged or not, but I think, and again, it was so long ago, I think they said it was defanged, but when the cobra gets out and it's got that hood thing,
all bets are
Thunderdome.
off. No.
Absolute Thunderdome. And it was a bunch of like handicap or like special needs kids. That's a better word, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like, dude, panic. Absolute total chaos. Like grabbed like a couple kids and just started. It was bad. It's bad. It's like when you're one of those things and that stuff goes south, like you're at a performance, you're like, stuff can go wrong. Like you're at the Cirque du Soleil, you're like, hey, everyone's having, and then just, it's hard to then put yourself back in the whimsy. It's no good.
I don't know why it's in the algorithm, but I feel like I have those incidents pop up on YouTube for me all the time of like, oh, the tiger turns on his trainer playing around, and like, dude, that stuff, I don't like that stuff.
You're out there, putting on live performances with animals. Sometimes, or in this case, aerials, stuff happens.
But not an animal attack, but we did have a cyber attack up north of our border here in Oregon.
Screwed up Seattle pretty good.
Yeah, it's SeaTac. So long delays and long lines were experienced on Sunday after a cyber attack was discovered on the port system on Saturday morning. So they confirmed on Sunday afternoon it was a cyber attack, and that their ability to send and receive data, including email, was compromised. And this was from the director of aviation department of the Port of Seattle. So it's hard to understand what exactly the attack was going for, but it really threw things off. It caused massive delays.
Well, it just goes to show you, man, how, I mean, I've read a lot of different things that say they think that the next big terrorist attack will indeed just be this.
I've wondered about that
shut down
a lot.
We had one a couple years ago where they shut down like an East Coast, like the electrical grid or was it the gas line, right? Where they couldn't get fuel on the East Coast. You read about all kinds of stuff that said you don't really need to blow anything up. You just have to come in and you can basically ground our economy, ground society to a halt by just shutting down computers.
Well, you've seen the kind of chaos people can cause even in small places. I mean, I think about the opening of the new LA Clippers arena or whatever, where it's like, oh, their system for tickets went down and now everyone's effed because they were told no cash, no whatever. And I mean, if you took away everyone's cell phone network, this country'd go ballistic. And somebody could do that.
Oh,
so
you take to the streets and start throwing the road flares. Let's go.
I have thought and
ready to riot.
I don't know about worried about that, but that certainly seems like cyber tech might be a good way to get us, if you will.
I'm guessing you were pretty pissed off if you were trying to get out of SeaTac today.
I would imagine so. Coming up, we have some back-to-school news. Beaverton kids are get to sleep in a little bit later, and that coach that was slapping kids around on the football field or at the football retreat, there's a lawsuit. Can't do that. It's coming up next. More in the news. Primetime, 1080 The Fan.
This is The Fan.
back tonight. Ducks Roundtable, the first one
You're
of the
roundtabling,
season.
huh? Do you
That's
have more
right.
than two? Because the roundtable
Yeah, we
with
do.
two bothers me.
Yeah, we do. We'll have Schultze producing. We'll have
Okay.
Anthony Newman in here and Will Ortner. So
All
there'll be
right.
4 of us.
I prefer that. It always
Um,
bothers me when you guys roundtable with two.
There did used to be a 2-man roundtable.
That's
from
not a
time to time.
round table. That's a line.
That is a line.
That's a table line.
I mean,
I need
even 4
someone
is
to-
more of a square.
I
if we're
just
being
need
honest.
someone to turn a corner. That's all I need a corner involved.
At least this table is round-ish.
Yeah. You can't have. I don't need a rhombus in here. Just give me a weird angle.
Well, you can hear us preview not so much the Idaho game, but the Ducks football season
Well, you're not-
this evening when
We're not
Primetime is
breaking
done.
down the big. Do we have even a spread on that yet?
Oh, I bet
44 and a half.
What is it?
44 and a half.
44 and a half.
I believe that's what it was last time I looked. I'll pull it up.
Do you dare take Idaho in the points on that?
I saw someone say
Unless
that
there could be.
I think Ohio State plays Akron this weekend, and Ohio State is favored by 50, and the over/under is 58.
According
we
to
are so back.
according to A. 44 and a half.
I just know this. When you get anything like that, you just don't touch it. Just walk away. Just don't. It's a no.
Let's continue on with In the News for Monday, August 26th. A couple bits of school district news, specifically in Beaverton. They've read the studies, they've listened, and finally those kids are starting school 1 hour later.
I think they do that now in Clark County.
We did it in Hawkinson.
Yeah.
Did you?
I think
Yeah.
most of the people over in Southwest Washington have realized that the youngs don't like to wake up, and making them is just that like absences are through the roof and like tardies, and then like the studies show that you just don't perform well enough.
And then
see-
specifically in the winter months, it gets really
Yeah,
hard
it gets
because they're going to school when it's still dark out, and yeah.
Well, like I said, I walk my dog in the morning. I walk through the high school, and sometimes in the morning, it's like zombies. You just see these kids just getting out of their car, and you're like, good
They
luck.
got these dead eyes.
I'm like, good luck, first period teacher. Have fun with that. I don't. Whatever I'm teaching, just whatever first period is, that's got to be a toss. That's a toss away.
So yeah, it looks like first period was 7:45, now going to be 8:45.
That's good.
Moving forward.
I think that's a wise move.
Then additionally, out at Westview High School, we had head football coach Jamal Jones resign from his position after he was slapping his kids around at the retreat. We know about that. They found their new head coach, who, by the way, is a former Oregon Duck, Dan Weaver.
Yeah.
And
I think he was a center, was he not?
Yep, that's right. Yeah, O lineman.
When in doubt,
center brotherhood.
Find the O lineman.
Right.
It's the way to go.
Find the big guy.
But now that Mr. Jones is being sued by, he's already charged with 12 counts of harassment. But one of the parents,
Just 12?
who says that her son was slapped so hard on the face it caused him to swell, suffered mentally and emotionally, and was humiliated during the incident, and looking for damages up to $125,000.
Look.
You can't slap kids.
You
Don't
can't-
defend
You can't
him.
slap kids. I said that, dude. You fire that dumbass immediately, but
But also, how do you put a number on it?
125 G's because you got? Come on. Although, look, I mean, I guess
I've always
Slapped
wondered.
kids.
get what you
Just
can
in court
get.
systems in general, they're like,
Get
we'll
what
say
you can get.
11.3 million for pain and suffering. You're like, wait, how do you get to that figure?
Benefit bags. It's the poor taxpayers out there. They're gonna have to write that check. Just 125 G's. Like I said, that's my kid. I'll get slapped for 125 G's, but I don't want my kid to get slapped.
Yeah.
That guy's lucky that there wasn't some angry parent that came along. Stop slapping kids. It's not that
The
hard.
dude was a cop too.
Yeah. Don't sleep with students. Don't slap. Just don't touch your students. It's not that hard.
Don't make
It's
physical contact with high school kids.
game of
Just don't
soccer
do
at that point. Keep your hands to yourself.
Yes.
And don't head anything either. Just no touchies. There's no touchies and you're fine. It's
Personal bubble. There's a
There
reason
you
that's
go.
there.
not- yeah. Like a church dance. Make room for the Holy Ghost, right? Just don't
You
touch.
gotta see the kid coming, and you put the hands out for the high five. That's what you gotta learn, or carry around a clipboard so that there is protection to block
Will
away.
knows.
You're like Gene Steratore with the note card
Yeah.
and
You
the
gotta
first
be
down marker.
You gotta be not afraid, quick to throw a hip involved, so that no one can go anywhere near
Yeah,
you.
don't
You
don't
just-
give anyone a ride home. It's just simple things. I say, hey, do you need a ride home? Yeah, maybe you do, but not for me.
You keep the doors locked until all the kids are ready to come in the classroom and no one else comes in.
Hey, Will knows. Will knows what's up.
Locked, cocked, ready to rock.
And then
Oh.
finally, one more piece of news for you. Sook's been making noises about getting out to the sports bra for some time, and now
Yeah, I got to get out there.
founder of the sports bra, Jenny Wynn is up for one of the most prestigious business awards in Oregon.
Oh, the Business Achievers Award?
The Oregon Business and Industry Organization are recognizing her with the Oregon Visionary Award, recognizing people, employers, and organizations that strengthen Oregon's economy and develop solutions to significant problems.
Is it wrong that anytime I hear any sort of business award, I immediately think of the Big Lebowski?
Little Urban Achievers?
That's all I think about. 100%. Well, I have yet to make it out to the sports bra. I want to. Don't know if I'm welcome there, but hey.
I would bet you they're welcoming. They're a welcoming bunch.
Well, next time that there's a women's rugby game on, or I don't know, try to make it out there. See what I can do.
A Thorns Road playoff game, perhaps.
Yeah, I can get a nice. I'm here on their website right now. I can buy a sports bra hat, maybe a sports bra rainbow tank top. Do they make that in the Husky teen section? You can also get the power snatch. Because if
that's
so,
on the menu.
I'd rock myself a rainbow sports bra tank top.
Do they have a sports bra?
I don't know. I don't.
They should. They should sell
should.
sports bras
well,
that say the sports bra.
Their logo is indeed a sports bra, but no, it does not appear. You can buy a 12-in-1 wooden multi-tool with the sports bra logo on it.
Is that a Swiss Army knife?
Like a Leatherman?
Yeah, no, it does look like a Swiss Army knife. I just don't think you can call it that.
Yeah. Okay.
Something against the Swiss?
Oh, I lied. Right here. It's sold out though.
Oh, the sports bras are sold out at the sports
bra is indeed sold out.
They're
Never
hot,
saw
man.
that coming.
They're hot.
Yeah. $35 though. It's a good deal.
Flying off the shelf.
Flying off the shelf.
How much do bras cost? I wouldn't know if that's a good deal or bad.
I don't know about sports bras, but real bras are expensive.
I think good
Wouldn't
sports
know
bras
that
are
either.
expensive too.
Wouldn't know.
Yeah, and well, when you're a single father, unfortunately,
You learn these things.
Yeah, you
learn
gotta
these
gotta
things?
know.
Well, and there's the thing, I always farm that out to my oldest daughter to shop the younger one, but I saw the bill.
Well,
And
you
there were a lot
did.
of times I'd see the bill, and my oldest was just like, "Shut up, Dad. Don't say anything." And I was like, "Nope, whatever." But that bill's it's a hefty bill. I had no idea.
You did take my ex to Victoria's Secret, so there's that too.
That is true. I did take Will's ex-girlfriend to Victoria's Secret.
What? Okay.
That did happen.
That
Yep.
did
That was
happen.
before we were dating.
Yes.
A story for the club. Boy.
This happened. I think I might
There
have.
are photos.
There are photos.
I was
Absolutely.
shown photo. I think that was part of her
Boy.
reeling me in.
My brain is corkscrewed right now. I'm gonna have to understand. I think I know how this worked, but
what happened?
we're definitely gonna need
A
details.
lot of people were uncomfortable that day. Lots of people.
That is all the time we have for In the News. Coming up next, it is the Hot 5 at 5, plus a little bit of Dave Bartu breaking down the college football season. It's all in hour number 3, Primetime, 1080 The Fan.
This is the day of the
It is an SOB edition of Primetime today. No Rop, he'll be back tomorrow, but it is Suk, Ortner, and Buckley riding along here with you. And we got some guests. Well, not some guests. We have a guest for a couple segments coming up. Dave Bartu, the great, and I like to call the most interesting man in the Northwest.
Been a
Jack of
while
all trades.
since we talked to the great Dave Bartu.
Yeah, absolutely. But coming up in the club tonight, got a couple things for you. Space Force could have company in outer space. A $46,000 wedding without the groom. And Aaron Rodgers' friend beheaded a whale. So
yeah, that's a whole thing.
We will get to all of that, but to make sure that we are rolling and on time for Dave Bartu, we're going to get right to our Hot 5 at 5.
Hot topics, hot opinions.
Oh, golly, I'm hot today.
And hot air. It's time for the Hot 5 at 5.
That's hot.
The Hot 5 at 5 on Primetime with Isaac and Sue.
No, I mean it. That's very hot.
The Hot 5 at 5 with Isaac and Sue. Brought to you on The Fan by Victor Rico's Mexican Food, the most popular burrito spot in Oregon. Online at victorricos.com. Number five.
Number 5, this just into our newsroom. I see that Seattle legend Sue Bird has had a street named for her in Seattle, Sue Bird Court, outside of Climate Pledge Arena.
Okay.
So the former Seattle Storm great, she's not still playing, is she?
No.
Yeah, I didn't think so.
No, she retired. I want to say she retired a year or two ago.
Yeah. It was either last year or the year
she
before.
just hangs around with Megan Rapinoe.
But yeah, she's been honored up in Seattle. And additionally, wanted to corkscrew this in here. It's the start of the U.S. Open in tennis. And it's only the first round, so there's nothing big going on there. But I did see today, are you familiar with their signature cocktail? I know you're a cocktailsman.
I am not familiar with the U.S. Open cocktail.
It's called the Honey Deuce.
Okay.
And it is Grey Goose vodka, fresh squeezed lemonade, Chambord raspberry liqueur, crushed ice, and fresh honeydew melon balls.
Let me just say, for the record, I think that sounds delightful.
I think it sounds pretty good, too. Last year, they sold 450,000 of them at $22 each.
$22?
They made $9.9 million on the honeydews.
Gosh almighty.
Yeah.
Dude, cocktail prices now are still. So you gotta find a nice little dive bar, right? Go to Jerry's, they'll treat you right.
That's right.
Cheap cocktails, $22.
I know. Well, I mean, you're going to a major sporting event. I mean,
it's
obviously the Masters keeps prices low, but not everywhere else.
That's Vegas prices.
BMW Championship over the weekend saw Keegan Bradley win it. He was the last player to make the field at 50th to even have a shot to play in the tournament. Now he moves up to, I believe, 4th in the FedEx Cup standings going into East Lake, where the top 30 players will duke it out for the FedEx Cup prize.
Because this is it. The cuts have been made, right? So now we got 30, and I think they're playing for what? It's like $18 million?
$18 million. Yeah, it is. That purse has gone up and up and up each year.
That's not a major or anything, but I think I might rather just win that.
And now they do the thing where they allow the FedEx Cup points to all accumulate, and based on where you are, they slot you with a head start. So the top, I believe, 10 players get a head start. But Scotty Scheffler's going to start 10 under par, followed by, I think, Xander, who is 8 under par, and you go on down the line like that. So how about a little bit of MLB talk? We brought it up a little bit earlier because it was such an odd anomaly, but Danny Jansen making Major League history today, being the first player to play for both teams in the same game, a game that was postponed in June and got restarted again today.
Well, it was interesting because he was actually at bat when the game was postponed.
Yep.
So when it started, they had to make an announcement that he was being pitch hit for, and he was catching when they were making the announcement that he was being pitch hit for.
And then, of course, Shohei Ohtani going 40-40 over the weekend. The Mariners, as Will noted in his sports snort, they took 2 of 3 from my Giants over the weekend. But they're idle today. And guess what? The Astros are winning again today. They're up 2-1 in the bottom of the 5th
Look, if you're a Mariner fan, keep an eye on this. I think they play, it's like the Angels, the Rays, the Angels, and the A's. Their next 3 series. And the Astros start with the Phillies. There's the next 9 to 12 games are significantly harder for Houston than Seattle, and with only 30 whatever games left, if there is going to be a jump, it has to happen in these next, 9 to 12 games.
Yeah, we saw the pendulum swing hard against the Mariners, and now if you wanted to swing hard back the other way, it has to be
happen
in this
now.
stretch.
Houston, by the way, up 2-1, bottom of the 8th against the Phillies.
And we mentioned it a little bit earlier, but Uchenna Nwosu of the Seahawks, their best edge rusher, going to be out anywhere from 2 to 6 weeks with a meniscus or MCL injury. Was it MCL? MCL. So a blow for them. We still like what they're bringing on defense. Hopefully that Mike McDonald's scheme can kind of help save that a little bit. But he is nicked up. And then additionally, I have no idea what the hell's going on with this Brandon Ayuk stuff. It seems like there are new reports every single day. Yeah. Now the Niners and Ayuk are again at an impasse. They can't reach an agreement. And Peter Schrager and others are tweeting about possible connections back with the Commanders all over again.
It's ridiculous. The CeeDee Lamb deal just got done. I mean, I guess the framework of the deal is supposed, what I heard was fine. It was the last year of guaranteed money. He's basically looking for a fully guaranteed deal, which isn't going to happen. I mean, no offense, but at this point,
take it, dude.
I kind of feel like this is on Ayuk, right? The only team,
it does feel that way.
The teams that are willing to give you the deal you want, you don't want to play for.
Yeah.
So at this point, I mean, I usually side with players, but I think this is on Ayuk at this point. Either agree to the trade or suck it up and take a little less guaranteed money. You're young, you can still make it up.
And then,
and you're, by the way, you are not CeeDee Lamb, and you're not Justin Jefferson.
Speaking of wide receivers, the news of the day: CeeDee Lamb, the now second highest paid non-quarterback ever in the National Football League. He agrees to a 4-year, $136 million deal with the Cowboys, ending his holdouts.
Yeah. And the only thing I don't get about this is Dallas was never going to move on from CeeDee Lamb.
No.
So, and they said they're going to be smart with his ramp up, right? You got to be careful when you haven't been doing football-related activities. Soft tissue injuries, pulled hammies, things like that. This deal was going to get done. You didn't save any money. It's a $136 million deal. It's the second largest of all time. Unless he was asking for way more than Justin Jefferson and you got him off that number, it just blows my mind that it took the entire preseason and offseason to come to this. Just I don't fully understand that one.
I don't either, and so I guess my question about that is that Jerry or management either being cheap or just overly optimistic that he would for some reason take less? Because why are you going to do that positioning and grandstanding if you're just going to give him all that money anyways?
I don't know. You see this all the time. I mean, Trent Williams is still out for the Niners. He doesn't have his deal done. I guess they say this in business all the time, right? It's not an urgent thing to get done until it's urgent. And when you start missing real games, that's urgent. And with Lamb, because he's on a rookie deal, I think they can forgive the fines. Trent Williams, they can't. Trent Williams is getting fined, and he's going to have to pay those fines. I don't know. You would think that sides could come to a more reasonable explanation or a reasonable, what would you say? Agreement.
Yeah. Arrangement.
Yeah. When you know that neither side's moving on. The Ayuk one, they are willing, and he is too, evidently, to move on.
Yeah, but kind of not, because every time they find a spot for him, he's like, no, this isn't right.
The CeeDee Lamb thing and the Trent Williams thing, dude, get that done. You could have had that done a month ago.
And then you're not taking those risks that you talked about. The soft, just get the deal done and then let him take most of camp off.
So now he gets to turn around and listen to the whole Dak Prescott thing of will he or won't he? And they'll get something done too. They're not going to move on from Dak Prescott. Stop it.
In the NFC East, Eagles or Cowboys for you this year? Or I guess I could say Giants or Commanders, but I don't think you're going there.
No, the Eagles have a much better roster. I just have questions about the coaching staff, but I'll take Philly. I'll take Philly. They were 10-1 last year. So as long as Sirianni gets out of the way and they've revamped the coaching staff, the Philly roster is better. Plain and simple, it's better. I'll take the Eagles. And no, I'm not taking the Commanders, and I'm not taking the Giants.
We did get I wanted to bring this up because we got a tweet. You and I were tagged in this, Suk. We have one of our loyal listeners at Costco right now.
Don't do it.
And they're looking at the Banana Republic chino pants.
Don't buy the Costco pants.
By the way, when I picked mine up, there was just the khaki color. There's navy and gray. I might have to go back for more.
Just telling you, don't buy your clothes at Costco.
And I'm telling you, depends on the brand.
Be better than Costco.
You can find some good finds.
When it comes to your clothing, be better than Costco.
Don't even have a card.
The Hot 5 at 5 is brought to you by Victorico's Mexican Food, home of the best burrito in Oregon. You can always visit them online as well at victoricos.com. Our buddy Dave Bartu, it's been a long time, but he is back to preview the college football season with us next from the College Football Matrix. That is next here on Primetime 1080 The Fan. for college football, but that means the real action starts this week with a bona fide week 1, plenty of good matchups. And a guy we like to have on the show plenty, whether it is basketball, football, but especially at the beginning of football season, the great Dave Bartu is with us. How are you, Dave?
Dude, the great, come on, man. Come on. But I will tell you, I am so high on life right now. This is like the biggest professional week of my career this week. So I am pretty jacked up. I appreciate you guys having me on, though, right here in your backyard from Forest Grove.
Does anything change with the expanded playoffs for you? Or, I mean, I guess we don't officially know yet how the selection committee, but I guess in your opinion, because you've always been adamant that the committee does the same thing. It's very predictable. You know what to make of it, and the rest of it is just kind of BS and fluff that they put out for PR. Do you think anything changes with the expanded playoffs, or is it just committee as usual?
Well, it's right now it's committee as usual, right? I mean, number one, we were promised transparency, and they gave us the ranking rules. And then everybody forgot about the ranking rules and complained that we weren't getting transparency. All we got is what you just said. The narrative constantly changed. Different chairman, different way of telling a story, different way of trying to appease people. But look, nobody wants to hear that if they were on the committee, the outcome would still be the same, right? Nobody wants to hear there is no eye test. Nobody wants to hear the people on the committee don't have the ability to do X's and O's, just like 99% of the people listening right now don't have the ability to do X's and O's. I can't do X's and O's. And if you and I were on the committee, guess what? Rankings would all be the same. You follow the rules. This isn't a committee that gets to make up their rules. They just implement the rules that were given to them. Now, up until this point, we haven't heard that those rules are changing. Right? So strength of schedule is still the last thing they're going to consider. It doesn't matter if an SEC team is 9-3, 10-2 ACC is probably getting in over them, you know? So, but what it does tell us though, and I think when I was driving the other day, I heard you talking about, hey, 10-2 doesn't automatically get you in. I think was that last week or something like that?
Yeah, it was last week. We were saying that when I've looked through, I went back and I looked at like the last 7 or 8 years, and to me, when I looked at it, 3 losses basically eliminates you. I don't think.
Yeah, you're toast. Actually, I went back and I looked at all 10 years, final regular season 12 throughout COVID year.
Yeah,
because that doesn't count, right? Even though the rankings, they still held rank and file. So 9 years. And so 9-3, if you were a Power 5 team, now Power 4, remember, all we did is lose 2 teams, Oregon State and Washington State. Everybody else still has the same conference schedule. Yeah. Different teams, same number of games. Okay. So 9-3, there was 36 instances of 9-3 Power 5 in the last 9 years. 3 made the top 12.
Okay.
3, right? And that was all one season. I think it was 2018, and a bunch of wonky stuff happened. And it was like 2 SEC teams or an SEC team and a couple Big Tens or whatever it was. But 3 out of 36, those are your odds.
So essentially a third loss should eliminate any
And by the
team.
way, we don't even – and that being number 12 doesn't guarantee you anything because a group of 5 has to get in, and they may not be a top 12 team.
Right. Well, what I actually – I even went more in depth. I went the final 11 and then added in that tier 3 team, right? Your Memphis. You add in that Cincinnati. Now, when Cincinnati was number 4, then I added in that 12th team.
Yeah.
Right? But really, you're trying to get top 11. But 9-3, absolutely no guarantee. I can unequivocally say Big 12 9-3, ACC 9-3, you're not getting in.
Yeah.
Okay? If it comes down to all else being equal, strength of schedule matters, you don't hold a candle to those other 2 conferences, especially the SEC. So
this is where you texted me something when we were talking about that, because as I made the argument, and I'll be interested because I trust Dave through and through. I learned years ago when Dave called the Wisconsin-Oregon State game. I was at that point. I was like, and we didn't know Dave from Adam. I was like, I'm not going against this guy.
Dude, that was the first time I was in studio, and I'm like, here's why Oregon State's going to beat Wisconsin. And you looked at me like, Bart 2 is an idiot. Get this guy out of my studio.
After that, I was like, dude, I'm listening to this guy. But so
right, and so everybody needs to stick around for as long as you guys have me on, because we're going upset alert today.
All right,
we're going upset alert now. Back to the playoffs.
Yeah,
and I know what you were talking about too is your preseason rankings. Let's put a pin in that right now. Let's focus on what it takes to get into the playoffs.
Yeah,
10-3, 8 times a 10-3 team miss the top 11. 8 times. 10-2. I thought in my mind, right? I think all of us would go, oh, 10-2, you're a lot. No, 6 times. So 1.5 teams per year for the last 9 years, 1.5 a year, missed the top 11. So it's far from guaranteed. Now, one of the cool things that may happen, and this would be the really, you want to talk about blowing things up, is the 10-2 team that is top 11 going into the championship game that is outside the top 11 after they lose.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That happens.
We've seen it. It punishes you for playing a championship game.
It does. It happened 5 times. So every other year, a team that entered 10-2 left 10-3 and would have missed the playoffs. Oh man, you want to talk about crying and gnashing of teeth?
Yeah.
Woo! That's going to be juicy. I only hope it comes to fruition earlier than later.
Yeah, that always bums me out when a team basically kind of guarantees their spot for not being in their conference title game, and then the team going into that conference game has to play another game against usually a top 10 to 12 team. And it just seems like that is the definition of being ass backwards, that you're punished for having a better regular season and then having to play an extra game against a really good team. I hate that.
Well, yeah, and so you physically get beat up. Then you get beat up in the rankings, right? And then if you actually end up in the playoffs, now you've played an extra game more than the 10-2 guys.
Yeah.
Completely, utterly imbalanced, in my opinion. But to get rid of the championship game, we get rid of a paycheck, so we can't do that, obviously.
Yeah.
So 10-2 doesn't ensure it either. And then everybody, 11, 12, 13 wins, obviously, those are all in. Okay, you're gonna make it. But 9-3 is you're out. You are playing for at least 10 wins, and God forbid you are in the hands of the committee, because ultimately you just want to win that title and not be one of the teams that they have to pass judgment on.
So, I mean, essentially, we've talked about, like, into this new era, maybe we can get more aggressive scheduling because it's not a downside if you lose a game. But essentially, if you want to, it's even an easier scheme, or it's an easier system to scheme now. Because if you're one of these teams, let's take Oregon, for example. You don't play anyone in the non conference schedule, and there's only real 3 teams that physically are on par with you, and you can lose 2 of those, and you're basically guaranteed to be in.
Exactly. So why schedule tougher, right?
Yeah.
Why make it tougher? And now to win a national title, you have to play 16, 17 games. Why would you schedule tough and beat yourself up in September? If anything, this says schedule easier, right?
Yep.
Stay healthy, because look, you're going to get tough games if you make the playoffs. I mean, you think about it. If you make a conference championship game, then have to go play essentially 3 top 10 teams. There's nothing easy about that at all. So why there's no incentive to schedule hard. Strength of schedule has no correlation between the quality of team. It's a BS number. It's crap. It doesn't mean anything at all, and the committee regards it least of all. It is the lowest number on the totem pole when it comes down to using it for the rankings. So why chase that? That's why I said, if you're going to be a wild card team, make it 66%, or weight it based on the quality of your non-conference games. Oh, you went 4-0 against really tough teams. Cool, you're in.
Is that kind of more what the NCAA tournament committee does?
Right. But see, they get to play 32, 34 games, 36 games. There's a lot more room for error. When you only play 12, man, there's no room for error. And the injuries are so much more catastrophic at college football versus college basketball level. So I see people trying to compare that all the time, and it's just like, it's not even apples to oranges. I mean, it's golf balls and pickup trucks. It's just you can't do it.
You really, I mean, it's true. Like, you've taken away any incentive whatsoever to schedule outside of your non-conference, especially now if you're in one of the 2 big conferences, the SEC and the Big Ten, where it's going to be a bit of a meat grinder, and you're going to get 2 or 3 of those top 12 teams anyways. It really does behoove you to schedule the Idahos of the world.
Yet the SEC, dude, I can't wait for the SEC to go to 2026 to win 9 conference games. Oh my God, these fans, the
will they have
the
to?
attitude of, huh?
Will they have to go to 9?
No, they've already announced they're going to
Oh,
do
they
it.
are. They're doing it. Okay.
They are doing it. 2026. I mean, all these fans that are like, "Oh, you got to play tough to be the best," right? I'm like, being 5-7, Arkansas is a good year. Is not anything to be joyous about.
Yeah.
I mean, this is going to be bad. I've already run the numbers. If you took the easiest game on every SEC team schedule today and threw it out for Vanderbilt, okay? Vanderbilt's the worst recruiter in the SEC, and they're 37th in the country in high school over the last 4 years, okay? You throw in Vanderbilt, the SEC this year, by my numbers, and again, I told you, strength of schedule models are all crap, even mine, but by mine, the SEC would have 15 of the top 16 strength of schedules this year. They are going to kill themselves over their money they're trying to derive by going to 9 games.
Yeah, and it's the kind of thing, too, I feel like for a long time that's kind of been their ace in the hole, in that they can schedule in the middle of their season that extra bye week, an extra win, essentially avoid the risk of having to take another loss against a pretty tough conference anyways. But
I do want to ask you real quick, because I want to go back, because we put a pin in that, but I want to go back, because I was spitballing the other day, and because preseason rankings usually don't mean anything. I firmly believe that. But in a case of, if you're sitting there trying to sort through, let's say, 4 or 5 10-2 teams, or maybe even 2 or 3 9-3 teams for that 12 spot, I made the argument that preseason bias, you take a team like Oregon let's take Oregon versus Washington this year. One's not ranked, one is ranked very, very high. I would make the argument that being an Oregon team, and if you lose early on as a highly ranked team, especially against its quality teams, we always have a tendency to bounce you back. Whereas if you're a team like Washington and you're not ranked in the top 25 and you lose those, you can get buried behind. I would think that a 2-loss Oregon team, even if they lose to the exact same teams, just from a committee standpoint, I just think it would behoove you, when you're talking about the difference between 10, 11, 12, 13, to be higher ranked. We always treat higher ranked teams better when it comes to losses. Or am I out in left field again? And again, like you said, it doesn't matter. It's only the rules at the end of the year.
Yeah, to me, it doesn't matter. We've never been able to show a correlation between preseason rankings and what the playoff committee does.
Yeah.
Nothing. Right? I mean, we could rank Portland State, Portland, Idaho, and Idaho State 1, 2, 3, 4 right now. Guess what? By November, they're going to be gone, and it's going to be sorted out. And if you watch the AP Top 25, the coaches poll Top 25, everybody's focused on it right now because there's nothing else to talk about.
Yeah.
There's talking points, right? So you can't get rid of it because it takes away a narrative. But watch all of their rankings shift immediately with the first playoff committee. You'll see it the very next week. Everybody moves over to whatever the playoff committee said. So I don't believe any preseason has any impact whatsoever on the actual playoff committee rankings. It's 7 variables. They put them out there. How else do you rank all these teams in 24 hours instantly, right? Because there's no eye test. There's no time to watch games. This is big corporate, big business stuff. You have to just check boxes and get it done quickly for the TV show. There's no time to sit there and go through all these extra things to get it done. So I believe, and I can't prove it, I believe you're wrong when it says preseason rankings matter. I believe that we could just do away with them entirely, but what else would we have to talk and bitch about?
Yeah, I just wondered with the because I agree with you when you're dealing with 4. But I just kind of thought there, when you're dealing with 10, 11, 12, and look, there'll be some years where I think this gets sorted out because, there's a big line of demarcation there. But if I've got 5 10-2 teams and I've got 5 9-3 teams, I don't know. I just in my mind, and we'll see how this plays out over the years. I just think that having that early season idea in your head that you were supposed to be good may help you out versus a team that's lost a couple that never was highly ranked.
And maybe that is right. Maybe what we do is, if you guys want to have me back on the day or two before the first playoff, the last playoff committee rankings, I want to see that. I'll give you the mathematical 1 through 12.
Yeah, because you'll know.
Right. I'll just say, here's my 1 through 12 by the math, and we'll see if they deviate.
Yeah.
Right? Because we hit 1 through 4 every single year, right on, in a row.
Yep.
Right? And so Now, all of a sudden, if that suddenly deviates and there's teams all over the place, then they've changed without telling us.
But no evidence of it right now. Yeah, they've followed the the rules. Even though the talking heads will sit there and tell you that they don't. You've cut through that a million times.
Yeah, they're so full of crap.
Yeah.
I mean, they really are. But what else are you going to do? Because, like I said, the fans don't want to hear this. Takes actually 15 minutes, and anybody can do it. Just toe the line and be a committee member.
Talking to Dave Bartu of the College Football Matrix. You can follow him on X at CFB Matrix. And one of the great things that Dave does over at the College Football Matrix is he tracks all kinds of measurable things from coach effect to personnel across the country. Coming up next, I want to ask Dave about which teams have seen the biggest losses and gains, especially as we've seen so much movement in the transfer portal and the coaching landscape. We'll get to that next, but first, Will has a SportsCenter update.
Now,
things that spark something that like I want to ask about that. I want to ask about that. I want to ask about that. This year specifically, you mentioned something when we were talking in the last segment about how much injuries can be a crusher in college football, and it feels like, especially now with the new playoff format and the fact that you're going to have to win 2 or 3 games to take down the crown, that health and that depth is going to be more important than ever. We've also seen more transfer and more player movement than ever. I know these are things that the college football matrix tracks, as well as the coaching effect and the coaches that are in new spots. What has your data told you, Dave, about just from a on paper roster and coaching makeup standpoint, who's taken a big jump going into this season and who may have taken a step back?
Well, from a talent standpoint, I really don't believe you're jumping in talent year over year. It's a 3-4 year process.
Sure.
Right. Now unless you can drop $2.5-3 million on a elite quarterback that can walk in and win football games for you, like a Gabriel, like a Ward, the numbers haven't shown that the portal means anything, because ultimately your best recruiters are still going to get the best players in the portal.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, you don't expect Washington State and Oregon State to get, top 10 portal classes. So why would it really be any different? And if you look at last year, the best high school recruiter over the last 4 years won 73% of all the football games, 133 teams, 73%. Highest number this century were won by the better high school recruiter. So I'm not seeing the correlation across football for the transfer portal, but you want to talk about programs that have made significant talent moves, Power 4 over the last 4 years. Now, 2 of them won't surprise you because guess what? They're moving from little boy football to big boy football. BYU, number 1. Average recruiting class over the last 4 years, 22.7, 5 spots better than their previous 4 years. Yeah. UCF, 14 spots better. In between those 2, at number 2, you got Missouri. One of the big reasons for Missouri making the moves that they have last year and predicted to do so well this year, their coaching staff is really good, their schedule is highly favorable, and their talent profile has gone from mid-30s to top 20. That's a real big reason for Missouri. Texas Tech, same thing. They have moved their needle recruiting as well. And you kind of go down the list, some of these other teams that you see here, Kansas State has made big changes. Mississippi has made big changes. And I know there's probably a lot of Duck fans. What have the Ducks done in the last 4 years? They are 15th in Power 4 recruiting improvement. Their average class is 5.5 spots better each of the last 4 years than the previous 4 years. So, Oregon's not anywhere near the top of that list, but they've made significant strides. And then right around Oregon, you got Miami and Notre Dame. So I guess there's 3 teams in the top 15 right there.
Does Oregon fit the profile of a championship team from a talent standpoint?
Yeah, they're 1 of 5.
Yeah.
They're only 1 of 5.
Oh, 5.
There's only 5 contenders. If you look at every national championship contender in the most very basic numbers, okay, 23 out of 25 are top 10 recruiters. Check, right? We're talking the number 5 recruiter coming into the season. So you have the talent, which is the most important thing. Do you have the coaching staff, right? Do you have 3.5-star or better OCs and DCs? Yes, you do. They're very young. They have a very high ceiling. We really don't know exactly how good they could be, but Oregon has the staffing to be able to do it. Were they good last year? 25 of the last 25 national champions were top 25 in scoring efficiency the year before. 25 of 25. You don't win without being good first. So Oregon has that as well. And then the last thing, are you top 20 in ease of schedule? Oregon's ease of schedule is number 4. The schedule they have is an absolute gift. And there are only 4 other teams in college football that have the talent, that have the coaching, that have the previous year performance, and a top 20 ease of schedule by my numbers, right? And that is 23 of their last 25 champions. The only 2 to win it that didn't have the talent box checked last year, Michigan, number 13 with an NFL quarterback, Clemson, number 13 recruiter with an NFL quarterback. So if you're not in the top 10, you better have a first-round NFL quarterback and a hell of a good head coach.
Yeah. So who are the other 4? I'm assuming like
Georgia.
Yeah.
Right? Georgia, obviously. They have the talent. They have the coaching. They have the previous year performance. Top 20 ease of schedule. Ohio State.
Okay.
And heck, Oregon and Ohio State may end up playing 3 times.
Yeah.
It'd be unbelievable.
That's wild.
They have all the pieces. Texas has all the pieces of the puzzle. And I'm trying to – nobody in the Big 12. I mean, they don't even have a top 25 recruiter. No. So they're all out. And I don't think anybody from the ACC was contending. They're all out.
Like a Bama or
the other
Ole
one.
Miss?
And it's not Alabama. I know a lot of people go, well, it's Alabama, but Kalen announced that Nick Sheridan is calling the plays. Well, Nick Sheridan's called plays for 2 years, and in our grading system, he is bottom 40% offensive coordinator in college football. He's had 2 really bad years. Now, if it was Kalen calling the plays, absolutely, right? Now, he's still overseeing it, but that doesn't mean the same thing. So, until I see Kalen DeBoer calling the plays, I say Alabama's out because their coaching isn't good enough. I think that's it.
Yeah, because that's only 4. So there's got to be one more. Is it Notre Dame, LSU, maybe?
It might. No, it's not LSU because their scoring efficiency was crap last year. Remember, they had the 97th defensive scoring efficiency. Yeah. They lost their 4-star offensive coordinator and their Heisman Trophy winner and replaced him with a no-name OC. So LSU certainly has the talent, but they didn't have the performance last year. I think you would have to call LSU more of a 2026 contender if this year is good. Michigan's out, right? Their coaching staff is, by our numbers, bottom 30 in the country. And they lost everybody, and then they lost their entire offense. So I don't believe in Michigan at all. It would probably be another SEC team, but it's for whatever reason, it's not popping in my head right now.
Is it harder to now under this system? Is it harder to win a national title than it's ever been, or is it easier?
I think it's tougher to have a dynasty, right? So I don't believe you can compare Nick Saban, anybody today, to Nick Saban, what he did. Maybe somebody does figure out how to do it, but every time you play a game, your odds of winning or losing, I should say, catch up to you. It's really hard to win over and over and over and over and over and not have a hiccup, especially when you're dealing with 18 to 22-year-olds. You're dealing with depth issues. I think the transfer portal doesn't add to your overall talent, but I think it hurts your depth, both physically and psychologically. Guys that are already checked out, that are looking to go somewhere else for a bigger paycheck because they're not playing enough. So I think it's more difficult, but I also think at the same time it condenses the number of really serious contenders to people that can stay healthy the entire time.
Yeah, Kirby said something. I saw an interview with him about a week ago, Kirby Smart, where he said that. He said the biggest thing for him is the depth. He goes, I know everyone thinks, Georgia, but he brought up the fact that in this current model, depth is an issue because you're relying on way more young guys that are unproven to be depth as opposed to guys that maybe were hanging around.
Exactly, and every time you snap the ball, you're one more play from your quarterback going down, right? And we've all seen it. We saw Florida State season end on one play.
Yep.
As Duck fans, heck, I still have PTSD from Dixon, So every time you go out there and Suk, you play this game, Ryan, you just don't know what's in store. Your season might be over in the blink of an eye, and now that we're adding 4 more games. I think Kirby's 100% right. It's all about attrition and health.
I do remember the year that Oregon played Ohio State in the national title game, and that was back when we just, you had the conference title and then, the couple extra games. And I remember just after the game, both of those teams, winners and losers, being on the ground and just being exhausted. I remember both sides, guys in the locker room talking about just happy it was over and the exhaustion. And now you crank that up by an extra 3 games. It's going to be interesting down the stretch. It is 100% going to be a battle of attrition at this point, guaranteed.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it is, and that's why again we go back to stack September as easy as you can. I think the SEC is crazy for going to 9 conference games. Get everybody into the playoffs and let it rip.
Well, Dave, before we let you go here, and we appreciate you hanging with us for a couple segments, but I want you to look into your crystal ball here. Does Dave Bartu play in any college football futures? Who do you like to take it all down this year? And then additionally, the second one for you before you get out, what do you eyeball in week 1?
Okay. Well, for football futures, it wouldn't be me if I wasn't negative on somebody, right?
No.
So I will take UCLA under any number but 0. No, dude, it opened at like 7.5. It's already down to 5.5. I still think there's tremendous value in UCLA.
Okay.
They've lost their talent. That coaching staff stinks. I think Michigan's going to be under. I don't think Michigan's going to be a top 25 team. I said last week Florida State's not going to be a top 25 team at the end of the season. I think Oklahoma is going to win 6 or 7 games. They will not be a top 25 team. Another one that's under is Colorado. I mean, I maybe it's just me being just a nasty guy, but I think Colorado's on the precipice. If they lose this first game, they're going to lose all 12.
Ooh,
I mean,
that's
this
tasty.
coaching staff is worse in every area. They hired Pat Shurmur, and if anybody knows Pat Shurmur, they know NFL, right? He is our 5th worst graded offensive coordinator in our system because we also do staffing for NFL clubs too. Pat Shurmur is the 5th worst offensive coordinator in the NFL this century.
Whoa.
Yeah.
He is trash. Right? I mean, if they win a football game, everybody donates their game check to Shadur because that's it. You don't win with transfers in the NFL. You don't win with free agents. This is a really, really poor coaching staff in a conference that is highly, highly coached. So I'm not buying Colorado as well.
And then how about week 1, Dave? I know you said you thought there might be.
Let's go some upset alerts.
Yeah,
this is
let's
my
go.
favorite. Okay. So what I'm looking for in September, because nobody really knows what's going on, right? This is a really good time to take advantage of lines. So there's one game. There's 2 games I'm looking at. They have the same profile. The home team is a big dog. The home team has out-recruited their opponent over the last 4 years. The home team has a better graded coaching staff in my numbers. Okay. The first one, and we're going back to betting the jet and the bug on this baby, right?
Yes, I love
so the
these.
first one, Vanderbilt at home against Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech's coaching staff is bottom 25 in the country. Vanderbilt's out-recruited him. Vanderbilt 37, Virginia Tech 42. Vanderbilt catching -13. At least take the points, at the very least. But I'm circling upset alert. The loser of that game, Clark Lee or Brett Pry, is getting fired in December.
Oh.
We got a hot seat game in week 1, baby. I'm calling it now. Loser gets a steak knife. Take bricks, buddy.
I love when Dave gives me an upset alert of 13 and a half, and it involves Vanderbilt. Let's go.
Yeah.
God, college
my
football
God.
is
Ever
here.
since the Oregon State-Wisconsin game, it just gives your sport pants all tingly.
Absolutely.
The other one, down in the Bay Area, better coaching staff, better talent, catching 10 points at home in front of 23 people that will attend the football game. Welcome to the ACC, Stanford TCU.
Okay.
We're not going light on the upset alerts here. We're going all in. So if you lose any money, it's not my fault. But I just like both of these games.
Yeah, I'm looking at the line now. Stanford, a 9-point dog right now. It looks like they're a plus 265 on the money line. If you like it.
That's plus 265. That doesn't feel like a lot of value for -9. But check out the line. I think it was 9.5. So that line might be coming down. So if you're in a place where you can bet it, I think that one I really like. Honestly, I really think Vanderbilt, because Vanderbilt turned 2 things over this year. They turned over their offensive coordinator, totally upgraded that. Clark Lee's taking back defensive play caller. And I'm telling you, Virginia Tech, I just feel they're massively overrated. Their recruiting is bad. Their coaching staff is bad. And I think this is really, really ripe for one of the big, I don't even know who's playing, upsets of the weekend.
I love it. I love when we
Vandy
get the,
plus 390 on the money line. That's tasty.
I don't know if I've
juicy, baby.
I don't know if I've ever bet on Vanderbilt in my life, and that's about to change in
Yes,
this next
it is.
break. Bovada, here I come.
Oh God! I saw that one and I'm like, who the hell bets on Vanderbilt?
Yeah.
Seriously.
We do now.
We do now. That's who we're going on this journey together. That's what we're doing.
Oh yeah. So next time I come on, I'll have to come up. I was just thinking about like a big suit game of the week, just the most obscure bet I could come up with that nobody's going to watch the football game unless they got money on it.
And that's the reason why you gamble, is that you can pay attention to Vanderbilt, football, because there's no other reason. But I'll be paying attention to it this weekend. And if that one cashes, we got a beverage. We got a scotch on me, Dave.
Oh, dude, I'm driving down, and I'll try to go 9 hot dogs and 9 beers. Live in studio, baby. Let's go.
That sounds like a wonderful opportunity. Dave Bartu of the College Football Matrix. You can follow him on X at CFB Matrix. Always appreciate the time. Be sure to check out his Patreon. Tons of good data there about the upcoming football season. Dave, we'll look forward to talking to you soon.
Love you guys. Thanks for having me on.
Coming up next, college football conundrum of sorts. There are celebrities on a plane. They're all from the world of college football except for one. You get to pick where you want to sit. That's coming up on The Fan.
It's time.
Bar 2 on. You can, of course, check out that interview later where you find, excuse me, got a little bit of beef jerky down the wrong.
I was going to say, you went over into the snack bag over there.
I know. I hit
some
the
jerky.
We talked about this on Friday a little bit, the Costco snacks. That would be the tagine seasoned beef jerky from Costco. Got a little bit of that pepper down the wrong pipe.
More of an old trapper man myself, but understand it's decent jerky. So buy your jerky at Costco. Just don't buy your pants or your shirts.
Or do buy your pants.
Can you please get that list out so that I can live my life by that? Can you make sure that you have the do's and don'ts for Costco for me?
Yeah. Simple. Anything at Costco is good. Just don't buy your clothes there.
Can I buy golf balls?
Actually, no, though. I guess those are trash.
Are they? I thought the Kirkland balls were supposed to be good.
There's a really good company that you can find. It's called My Golf Spy. You can find them on Twitter. They have a website or whatever. And it's really cool. They do like robotic testing and no bias, no nothing. And you get to find out what's good, what's bad. And believe it or not, for the price point, the Costco ball, I hate to say this, but it's a trash ball.
Okay.
Because it's not the cheapest ball out there,
right.
But there are much better balls for your money. People think because it's Kirkland, you're like, oh, it's Costco, it's a great value, and they actually tell you it's not a very good golf ball, especially at the price.
Bad value ball.
So yeah, it's check it out. My Golf Spy. It's just one of those things. I follow them, and it's kind of cool because golf is so much about brand loyalty or kind of what you hear or like oh this is great, and they take all that crap away. And sometimes it is the really expensive stuff that ends up being the best, and other times it's not. In fact, I think their number one golf ball. Well, their number one golf ball is the expensive Pro V1.
Sure,
it's by far the best ball. Their one after that is the Dick's brand, the Max Fly.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they say that the Max Fly Tour is the best because I think it's like $15 cheaper than the Pro V1. Every year that thing gets ranked theirs as just a tick below the Pro V1, which is like the best golf ball. It performs way better than a lot of the other super high quote tour balls. Well, there you go. There's an impromptu random golf thing. Don't buy your golf balls at Costco.
Thanks for ranking balls.
Don't buy your quarter zips. Don't buy your golf balls at Costco. But the beef jerky, fantastic.
So I saw something going viral yesterday on X in the realm of college football, and it sparked a lot of debate both online and among my personal friend group. This is the fantasy college football plane seating dilemma. Have you seen this come across at all?
I have seen this. They do this with a bunch of. I saw this like with politics as well.
So basically, the premise is that you're getting onto a plane with 10 rows of seats, or 5 rows, but there's 2 sides, and each row has 1 seat open. So which open seat are you most likely to join? And and here are the choices. In the first row, you could sit on the aisle next to Lincoln Riley. Next to him is Brent Venables. On the other side of the plane, you could sit between middle seats, Lane Kiffin and Nick Saban. You move a row back, you are on the aisle with Steve Sarkisian in the middle, Kirby on the window. Kirby Smart, that is. Mm-hmm. On the other side of the plane, another middle seat, but you're between Pat McAfee, Mike Gundy, and there's a rack of Coors Light underneath the seat, apparently.
Know where I'm sitting.
Yeah, 100%. It's not even close.
See, here's where I think it might be. I can tell you all the other rows. One row includes Dan Lanning and Coach Prime, another Marcus Freeman and Brian Kelly, another Jim Harbaugh and Ryan Day. Another one has Dabo Sweeney and Jesus.
All right, where do I see this? I got to see the.
Here, I will. I'll send it over to you.
Yeah, send it over because I actually want to look at this because here's my thing. I got to be careful with this. I probably don't want to sit by any college football coaches. Like, I just think that can be a lot. So I certainly don't want to talk college football with any of them.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a matter of I'm looking at 2 things. One, who just wants to shut up and mind their own business, which is probably plenty of them. Or who would I actually think would be an interesting person to talk to, not about football. Like for me, like Mike Leach. I've had lots of conversations with Mike Leach over the years, off the air. None of them were about football.
Mm-hmm. And you said he was a fascinating man.
Yeah, he was one of the most interesting guys. We would talk about what we were reading, and we talked about our love for Key West, and we just like Mike. Anytime we were down at Pac-12 Media Day, or anytime I was that I got a chance to be around him, I always found him to be a very very interesting guy. And so I would want to find someone that wouldn't want to talk like Lanning. Lanning to me would be like every time we bring Coach Lanning on, we talk some football, but I find the most interesting stuff about him is when we talk about non-football stuff. He does seem like a guy that I could talk to things other than football about.
But the problem with that row is that you also have to sit with Coach Prime.
You know what?
You could talk about Affleck with him.
I kind of would like. I don't know. As much as that dude seems to be kind of an ass, everyone that's around him that actually played with him or coached with him says he's a great guy. Said he's like he's like super caring. He likes himself a lot of Prime. That may be the Gundy McAfee one. That's the broiest one and seems like it'd be the funnest one. The Lanning Prime is not a bad choice.
Yeah, and then in the back row of the plane, which we didn't get to yet, you could have the window seat next to Connor Stallions with James Franklin on the outside of him. And then additionally, this is the one that really threw people into a would you or wouldn't you? Sydney Sweeney sitting next to you, and on her window side, Urban Meyer. I think that aisle seat is the easy, obvious choice.
See,
not like I expect something's going to happen, but I don't need to sit next to most of those other dudes. I'd like to sit next to Sydney Sweeney, I think.
I would not like to sit next to
I don't
Sydney.
want to sit
not?
next to her.
Here, here's another thing. Again, we're going to get...
She wants nothing to do with
exactly.
me.
This is
She wants nothing to do with me.
This is my life's philosophy thing. Like, everyone's like, oh, sit by... Why? So you can be a creepy, fat, sweaty guy staring at some up-tops? I have zero in common with Sydney Sweeney. I mean, nothing.
You're both from Washington.
What on earth am I going to talk to Sydney Sweeney about?
You're from Marguerite Street.
Yeah, like this idea. She's like with Glenn Powell, for God's sake. She can be like, who's this mid-40 guy, bald with a gray beard? No. So all you're going to do there is just be a creep. I don't want to be a creep. That offers me nothing whatsoever. In fact, that may be the last place that I would want to sit.
Oh, God, no. I think other seats would be insufferable. I think sitting next to Prime would be insufferul.
It might pain me to listen to Urban Meyer try to pick up on Sydney Sweeney, or just the idea
I actually
that I'm
want to hear
making her
that.
that uncomfortable.
I want to hear. I generally want to be around Jim Harbaugh. I don't know that Ryan Day would be my cup of tea, but I wouldn't mind being by Harbaugh. I think sitting between Saban and Lane would be awesome. I mean, I think that Saban hates Lane, but
yeah, don't get they.
But I think Lane is hilarious.
I think that'd be great because one, that's sneaky because I would like to coach. Or I would like to talk to Nick Saban about non-football stuff. I think he's an interesting guy and he's really well spoken. That would be fun. And then when I'm done with Saban, I can turn and just make fun of Saban with Kiffin. That's not bad because I would sit by Lane Kiffin. Me and the Lane train I think we'd be fine. I'd like what Lane's got going on, and we'd make fun of Urban Meyer and Sydney Sweeney in the front.
I knew that Will would be into that middle seat between McAfee and Gundy. You into that one too?
Well, it's like if you just want the best time, that's the one.
Yeah, you're getting drunk with McAfee.
McAfee got S-faced on his own show.
Dude.
He threw up. He threw up
because he had like
air.
30 Guinnesses apparently.
Dude, and you see him in Ireland, dude, I'm with you. Like, let's go. If you told me I'm going to Ireland with one guy, I might take Pat McAfee. And by the way, this is an underrated one, but I would sit in between Jesus and Dad.
See, that's the thing. If Jesus Christ himself were on this plane, right. Yeah, I think you'd have to, right?
It's the dadgum mistake.
Just the idea of I got questions. I got a lot of questions. I think Jesus may get up and move, by the way.
So what
that
road
may
do you
be
think
one where Jesus hits the little button and has to go somewhere else because
he looks across at Dabo and goes, "Dude, you know nothing about me."
I just got a lot of questions to the King of Kings over there, and I'm certain that he's going to like my line of questioning. So, yeah, that's
what's the worst seat on that plane?
The worst seat on the plane
is it next to Stallions?
Yeah, I would think it'd be Stallions and James Franklin. Talk about a nothing burger.
Well, dude, Lincoln Riley and Brent Venables.
That's kind of boring, too.
That's so boring. Stallions and Franklin is boring. That's lame. Brian Kelly and Marcus Freeman.
No.
Brian Kelly seems like the worst.
He does. Yeah, he seems like an absolute ass clown. But at least I got Marcus Freeman, who seems like a decent guy. So can I just ignore Brian Kelly and go with Freeman? I'm telling you, sneaky underrated worst seat is the Sydney Sweeney Urban Meyer. It just is.
Can't be.
Dude, I don't get, it's like the guy that goes and gets his hair cut because the girl is like really, really hot. What, you just love making someone feel uncomfortable? Like, trust me, that seat sucks.
It's hitting on the cart girls.
Yeah, you're that guy. Just don't be that guy.
No one likes the guy that hits on the cart girls.
And when you were 25, guess what? You still didn't have a chance with Sydney Sweeney either.
Nope.
So just let it go.
Unless you grew up in the Spokane area, and you might have.
All that is just going to be weird and uncomfortable, and Urban Meyer sucks anyways. The only good part about 5D is that you're at the front and you're on the aisle. That's the only good part about it.
Well, you're also one seat away from Jim Harbaugh, which would be electric.
He's leaning back into Harbaugh. I think I'd rather turn around and talk to Jim Harbaugh. Harbaugh would be an interesting guy.
What do we know about Ryan Day, though? I mean,
I just make fun of his beard.
He was born on third base.
He was. Could I make fun of just his dark beard the entire time?
Wait, is he a Nepo baby? What's Ryan Day's deal?
Well, he just took over Ohio State from Urban Meyer.
Oh, okay.
So,
yeah.
That's what Harbaugh just says. He says he's a third base guy.
Gotcha.
No, the good one would be is like if I didn't care and I wanted to go full troll, that's an entirely different thing. Because I really do think if we were strapped in and we had to sit there, I could really piss some people off.
Oh yeah.
And that would be kind of fun. Like, and if we're doing that, if I'm going full troll, the correct answer is to sit next to Dabo. I would like to see if I could get Dabo.
I don't think Dabo could handle you.
I would like to see if I could get Dabo.
You see he's not taking calls on his radio show anymore?
Yeah. Oh, is that right?
Soft.
Like, I would love to sit next to Brian Kelly or Dabo and just go and just be like, yep, buckle up, boys. We got a couple hours. This thing is going to get a little bumpy.
The initial prompt did say this is an 8-hour flight.
Well, we'll be interested to see what Dabo thinks of me after about 4 of those hours. We're going hard into this.
All right, we got to get to the club. Coming up, Space Force could have company, a $46,000 wedding and honeymoon that did not include the groom, and one of Aaron Rodgers' friends once beheaded a whale. What is happening? It's coming up next. Primetime, 1080 The Fan.
Chill
That's still my favorite Rob drop right there. I don't even know why he was angry about Halloween, but he was. He's that guy that refuses to hand out Halloween candy.
I think we were doing some story about like, oh, since we don't get that many trick-or-treaters, we just turn off our lights, don't come here for candy. You can take that candy and shove it up your little
Something like that. He has become such an old curmudgeon. It's fantastic. He wasn't always that way, but like he doesn't go out anymore. Like we'll go out like with like clients and like by 9 o'clock, Rob's like, yeah, time to turn in. He just has become an old curmudgeon, and it's fantastic, including refusing to hand out Halloween candy.
So,
Google me, bitch.
I wonder about. I mean, clearly that's like one of his favorite words to say emphatically. Coming up last week, we were talking a lot about the Mariners and their situation, and the name Don Wakamatsu came up, and one of our listeners texted in and said, I think that Don Wakamatsu and Tyler Hansbrough are the most referenced individuals on this show, like of all time.
It's possible.
And so I have not been around for nearly as much of it, and I'm wondering, like, if you whose name do you think you guys have said the most often?
Didn't you set a record, like a Guinness Book of World Records with Wakamatsu?
Like one day, I don't remember if it was when he got fired or got hired or whatever. We just started saying Wakamatsu, and I was like, dude, that's such a fun name to say.
It is.
So then we just started saying Wakamatsu, and like it became like, you ever watch the Smurfs? You know, where they say Smurf for everything. Like it's like it's the Smurf. It's like the F word, right? You can use it for anything. So we just started using Wakamatsu, and I think that day we added up. We had said Wakamatsu like 200 times. And then, of course, like for the next like 3 months, like, you know, there was always a Don Wakamatsu reference. So if we've referenced him a bunch, it was more just because it was like Don Wakamatsu was a one-hit wonder. He had like the song of the summer. He was like Shabuzi. He had like one hit song, and we got all excited about it. He was Carly Rae Jepsen, and you know, we got fired up about him one time. If we had to say who we've talked about the most in 20 years?
Off the top of my head, I would have guessed like maybe a name like Neil Olshey could have come up a lot.
Yeah,
Chip,
the GM bro came up. You know, Chip he wasn't at Oregon that long.
No, he wasn't.
And I mean, we talked about him when he was out of the NFL. I mean, I was gonna say like LeBron's been around forever, but we don't talk a lot of NBA.
I mean, Pete Carroll has been around for most of the Primetime tenure as the Seahawks.
You know, Brady got a lot. I mean,
Russ.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know.
I wish we could pull the data on that, because I'd be fascinated to find out what athlete or coach were invoked the most.
Yeah, that's a good question, because, you know, the Oregon's, I mean, coaches haven't stuck around. I mean, for a while, Riley, because he was around forever, but, you know, we've been through, you know, Bellotti. Bellotti was there for a long time, and then we went through a lot of guys after that. No, and the Blazers have certainly been through a plenty, and we've been through several Blazer stars, because we were here for the down years.
Yeah.
And then we were there for the Randolph years, and then we were there for the Brandon Roy years, and then we've just been around a long time. We're a bunch of old curmudgeons.
Yeah.
It's, you know, and then, of course, the great Don Wakamatsu, which is, again, I challenge anyone. That's just a great name to say.
Now, that texter also said Tyler Hansbrough, which didn't ring, like, sit with me. Why is that someone that Rob has talked about a lot?
God, that's way
that predates me.
That predates you. So I hate college. We do it in college sports in general, but college basketball gets it a lot. Where it's usually the white guy, right? We take the guy that's not very good in college, but we make him out to be the end all, the be all, because he hustled.
Sure.
And that was Tyler Hansbrough. Tyler Hansbrough was not a great basketball player, but he was white, and so we're like, oh, he's just gritty. Oh, he would drive me freaking crazy. And so it was just one of those things. The coverage of him just was nauseating. And so we had a P1, Kevin the Surgeon, who still listens. And he would text in a Tyler Hansbrough reference every single day. And that's back when we used to take calls. He would even call in and have a Tyler Hansbrough thing. And so that was like a running bit for, I think he did it every day for like a year. He would get a hold of the show and make a Tyler Hansbrough reference. So at least for one whole year, there was plenty of Tyler Hansbrough.
You probably had 300 Tyler Hansbrough references.
Oh God, there were so many of them. So you missed he would get a bloody nose, and people would be like, "That's the greatest bloody nose in the history of basketball." And Dick Vitale's over there giving him a handy because he just can't get enough of him. It's like, oh my God, Tyler Hansbrough! I've never seen anything like it. Why? Because he's a white guy that plays hard, and it's always the white guy. It's never a black guy. It's never a black guy that like does the little thing like Draymond Green. If Draymond Green was white,
no one would ever shut up about him.
Oh my God, you would not hear the end of it.
Maybe that's why he has to tell you why he's so great.
It's possible. Because if he was a white kid from Indiana, holy F. Buckle up.
Look at this glue guy. He's meant so much to this franchise.
Defensive player of the year, right? Like what, five rings? Or do they have 4?
4 rings.
4 rings. Olympic gold medal. They just, somewhere like Sean Hannity would be touching himself at night thinking of him. And just, but because he's black now is like, we hate him. But undersized, scrappy guy, Tyler Hansbrough. That's what everyone wanted. All those talking heads, the Dick Vitales wanted Tyler Hansbrough to be Draymond Green. The problem is he was unathletic. He was unathletic and wasn't a very good NBA player.
Someone on the Vancouver Ford text line says we talk about swag a lot.
Yeah. I mean,
someone else says the Tear Bear.
Yeah, he wasn't around long
I didn't think so either.
You know, Swag may win that.
Yeah.
I mean, in all honesty, Swag's been around as long as me and Rob.
Yep.
I mean, we're all 20 years. And Swag's been my producer, I think, 3 different times. Swag was like our Billy Martin.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he'd get fired and then he'd come back, get fired and come back. And, you know, to this day, we still talk about him. The Swag UP women, like, I'm sorry, that batch of drops was like the best thing that happened to us like in a year.
Here's the situation.
I mean,
it's over. We think.
We spent like an entire hour doing that.
Yeah, we did.
It may be Swag. And by the way, no one will love this more than Jason Swigard. But if you had to say who has been mentioned more on this show over 20 years, because you know the Tear Bear comes and goes. People bring up Tim Tebow. You know he's the Tyler Hansbrough of the NFL.
Sure.
World. You know, Dame, all these guys. But the key is consistency. Jason Swigard would be like he'd be like the Jim Tomei.
Like Cal Ripken.
He just
shows up every day.
He's a compiler.
Yeah.
You know, he never hit like 60 home runs. But dude, that son of a bitch was consistent. And
by the end, you look and you're like, man, that guy's got numbers.
I think it's Swag.
Yeah.
I really do. Between all of the shenanigans of Swag on and off the air, just the different versions of fat Swag, skinny Swag, hipster Swag, dating Swag, single Swag.
Swag in sunglasses, wearing a tie, doing updates.
I do. I'm declaring it right now. Absolutely declaring it right now. I truly believe that the most referenced and mentioned human being in the history of this dumb 20-year run that me and Rob have been on is indeed Jason Swigard. And as I think about this, I'm not certain it's close. I think Swag may have lapped the competition. I mean, we talk. I bet you he gets mentioned at least once a week.
Oh yeah.
And so like today, here he comes again. We're just talking about him again. We play his drops all the time. I think it's freaking Swag.
Hold on, everybody. Here's the situation.
And then let's see. I mean, that's we also got some follow-ups here from previous comments about the ROP Halloween drop. This Vancouver Ford text says, that was from my text. My kid didn't want Butterfingers, and you can take that and shove it up here, was Rob's response to his kid not being about Butterfingers.
Yes. See, there's someone remembered. Someone out there.
And then someone else says, I was interning for Primetime in 2010 when you had the Wakamatsu count. I forgot what the number was, but I had to count every single one of them. That's intern Kurt. 14 years ago.
Yep. Yeah, there's Kevin the Surgeon right there. Right? Tyler Hansbrough. Yeah, we've had varying degrees. You know, my brother for years before we had our falling out, he built momentum. You know, day in and day out. You know, it's been a couple years since. And to anyone's question, no, he's not coming back. That's not happening. But yeah, I mean, he was a consistent force. But that was one a day. But you know, some of the Mariner stuff. So he may, you know, he's high up there. But Swag, no man. The consistency of Jason Swigard. And, I mean, it's just an all-timer. It is. It's just Swag. And the sweaters or the short shorts. I mean, that guy is like, if you had to do write a sitcom, there's always the one, like, anchor, like, you know, the funny neighbor. Like, he's not the main character.
But he's in there all the time.
And he kind of makes it.
Yeah.
That's, for this station, not this show, for this station. Swag is like our Kramer. He's just
It's a good call.
He's just there. He's Wilson next door to the tool man. He's just there.
All right, coming up, I have a handful of stories here. All of them are pretty weird. I will let Sook spin the wheel of randomness when we come back in the club on The Fan.
The Fan is live on YouTube, Twitch,
Have a handful of stories here today. They're all from very different realms, and I'm going to see what Sook and Ortner think about them. So here are the headlines. You can decide where we dive in first.
Before we get that, can I just say that whoever was texting in about if Swag talks in his normal life like he does on the air, that made our day.
Yeah, this person writes, do you think Lady Swag says, how about pizza tonight? And Swag responds with, hold on, everybody. Here's the situation. I am lactose intolerant.
I want nothing more than Swag to use his announcer voice when dealing with home-type situations. That's why Swag is the anchor neighbor character to that, because of things like that. Hold on! Dinner will be 15 minutes late! We're having risotto!
Did you flip the burgers? Those buns might be over toasted.
Oh, we love you, Swag. All right. What do you got?
Well, we have 5 potential stories. First one, headline: I found out my fiance cheated, so I had the $46,000 wedding without him.
Whoa.
We have Trump says if elected president, he will bolster Space Force with the Space National Guard.
Yeah, who knew that space needed to be guarded more than it already is?
We have a scientist that he said has found the, quote, perfect hiding place for the missing Malaysian flight MH370.
Oh, we're down the conspiracy theory that didn't crash into the Indian Ocean?
He thinks it may be hiding down there, or they're hiding it down there.
Oh, whoa. Well,
who's hiding it down there?
All right.
The mer people?
You want to get into that
I
one?
want to hear about the $46,000 wedding, and I would also like to know where they're hiding the plane full of dead people.
Well, let's start there. An Australian scientist has claimed he's found the, quote, perfect hiding spot for the missing plane MH370. It was the Malaysian Airlines flight that vanished from radar after taking off in 2014.
See, isn't that crazy that that's been 10 years?
I can't believe it's been that long. It feels like it's been maybe 5.
That's been 10 years. And by the way, I watched that stupid documentary on that thing. That was the worst documentary of all time. You learned absolutely
It was terrible.
nothing.
I watched it too.
But at this point, I think everyone, the consensus is there was pilot suicide. And the guy took everyone down, and it's in the bottom of the Indian Ocean, like somewhere between Asia and Australia. That is just, it's at the bottom of the ocean, and good luck finding that sucker. But it is crazy to think that with all the modern technology, like we can't. In fact, this may be the only modern plane like of this size that we can't find. Like that doesn't happen. We're like, oh, it's somewhere around there.
So he is. He basically said, like you, he thinks. Or not like you, but like some of the conjecture, he does believe that it was deliberately crashed.
Yeah. Yeah. The guy turned off everything, and he just, he pilot suicide. That he may have, was the other one that he may have turned off all the oxygen, so everyone just passed out.
Right.
And then everyone was asleep. That way, no one could attempt to.
I didn't know any of this.
Yeah.
Yeah. The pilot suicide happens. I mean, that's now why there's a bunch of restrictions. Like you can't be in the cockpit by yourself. And even if there's just 2 pilots and one of them has to go to the bathroom, someone else has to go in and sit down with the cockpit, in the cockpit with the guy. It was like a German pilot a number of years ago that I think it was somewhere in the French Alps did this. The co-pilot went to the bathroom, locked the door, and now you can't break him down because of 9/11. Happens all the time. Well, not all the time, but it is a thing where you do. I mean, it's pilot suicide. You take a plane down into the ground and a bunch of people. So now they have restrictions. So there's some debate about whether he incapacitated or the pilot, or they didn't follow protocol and the guy left, he locked it, and that maybe he turned off the oxygen, and so everyone gets lightheaded, and everyone goes to sleep, and then he was able to basically fly the plane whenever he wanted to, and basically just took it into the ocean.
So this researcher from Tasmania in Australia, Vince Lynn, says that he submitted a paper that's been accepted into the Journal of Navigation in 2021, basically saying that the work changes the narrative from the incident from no blame fuel starvation, which we had talked about. He says, in fact, it would have worked being completely disappeared if not for the MH370's plowing its right wing through a wave and the discovery of regular interrogation satellite communications by Inmarsat.
I have no idea what any of that means.
Yeah, well, I'm having a hard time deciphering it as well, but essentially he thinks that this pilot was trying to do this and trying to dump parts of the plane on the way down so that it would be less discoverable, and that because of where we found pieces, it essentially leads us to saying that yes, he did this.
Wait, so he was trying to rip off parts of the plane?
That he was trying. Well, so here,
I didn't know you could do that. He's just he's like, I just want to lose a
if you're strong.
I guess he's like you going King Kong, like you just you're dipping wings into water.
So let me find the quote again.
I would assume that means that you go tumbling into the water.
Yeah, he said that the damage to the plane's wings, flaps, and flaperon suggested it was involved in a, quote, controlled ditching to that similar of Sully on the Hudson River. It says this justifies beyond the original claim based on brilliant, skilled, and very careful debris damage analyses that the MH370 had fuel and running engines when it underwent this masterful, quote, controlled ditching and not a high-speed fuel-starved crash. So, they're saying that it wasn't
okay. So he didn't try to ditch parts of the plane. They're saying that he went because of this. They know that he was in control of the plane when it went down.
That it wasn't just like, oh, we ran out and now we're screwed,
Sure.
or
Yeah.
So it says the premeditated, iconic location harbors a very deep 6,000-meter hole at the eastern end of the Broken Ridge, this underwater, with a very rugged and dangerous ocean environment, with narrow steep sides surrounded by massive ridges. It's filled with fine sediments, and it's a perfect, quote, hiding place for the rest of the plane.
Oh.
So that this aviator could have known, if I don't want anyone to find this plane based on what's beneath me, I start losing my stuff here, I go down here, and no one will know.
Oh. And someone else is saying that you can do things aerodynamically to cause a plane to kind of come apart.
Yeah,
Huh.
I think that's. That is
may be what
way
they're
more
saying.
stunt related. But yeah, I think that if you maneuver in certain ways, like you can do things to tear the wings off and stuff like that. And this paper essentially says that he believes that is what's happened.
And so he knew where to go. And let me just state for the record, look, crashing an airplane full of a couple hundred people, like, it doesn't get much worse than that. But, like, you're already a murderer. But do you have to be a D on top of it and make sure that no one else can find their loved one ever again?
Yeah,
Like,
that's rough.
I don't understand murder-suicide. Like, I don't understand, like, why, if you're going to kill yourself, you had to kill a bunch of people with you. But people shoot up schools, whatever, you got some screws loose. But what's the idea that you're going to, your final thing is I'm killing a bunch of people and I'm going to make sure that no one ever finds us? It just seems like an extra FU, I suppose. You want to talk about being the world's biggest ass?
Well,
I give you this D.
It's the ultimate display of being inconsiderate.
Well, you already murdered everybody.
Right,
yeah.
I mean, but it's like, on top of that, you already gave so little about their lives, you can't even give any dignity with it either.
Right?
It's awful.
Yeah, like you're killing everybody. You know you're killing everybody, and at no point you're like, at least the families will have an opportunity to bury their loved ones.
Maybe it's
you went and found like the deepest, like darkest, murkiest part of the ocean where you're going to be covered in sand, and that was the thing, like what they were talking about at the bottom, and that was what they said in the documentary. There's parts of that ocean that are so sandy and silty that if something hit the bottom of it, there's a good chance that it would just sink and it would just get covered and
avalanched over,
yeah. And you would never be able to find that it's lost to history.
Well, maybe it's one of those things where like they don't want anyone to find their body.
Yeah.
So then you don't think about the other. Like at that point,
It's about how it
you're
applies
not
to you and you
thinking-
only. Yeah.
Yeah, you only care about yourself. You're selfish in this situation, and you don't want anyone to find you. You don't want anyone to
Well, I
think
guess,
about
yeah,
you.
I'm putting rational behavior on a guy that's getting ready to murder several hundreds of people. But you know,
293, I think.
well, we don't think about that, like, because you get someone that shoots up a school and they kill 10, 15 people, or the guy that shot up Vegas. I mean, I think he got like 50. I think that might have been the worst that we've had. And those guys are like full on, demons, spawn of Satan type stuff. Well, this ass, he took
everyone with him.
200. You said 200.
293, I think, was the total count, including the pilots and staff.
293. I mean,
that's evil.
But we don't label these guys the same way that we do the
like
shooters.
a school shooter. Yeah, it's true.
And yet, 293 is a hell of a lot.
Well, and I think part of
by the way, and just as terrifying is some, like, I don't know which one's scarier, like having someone shoot up a place that you're at, or
just
being
decide that your vehicle's going down.
Yeah, or being on an airplane and realizing that you're F because the pilot is purposely taking you into the ground.
Right.
I mean, that's a whole thing right there.
Well, we'll still get to the $46,000 wedding without a groom. We could potentially get to
I need to know
the
about
Space National Guard. We also have a computer executive who is suing for $1.5 million after he was fired for peeing in a lobby. Yeah, then we have the beheaded whale situation.
The beheaded whale, I know that one, which,
we'll get to the wedding.
I need to know about a $46,000 wedding that didn't happen, or did it?
It happened without the groom. The honeymoon happened too, also without the groom. That's coming up next. But first, Ortner has a SportsCenter update.
Now from the
I was going to say we've lost Stu. We've not. He's walking in right now. What we are going to get to is the wedding of one Lindsay. What is her last name? Lindsay Slater. Lindsay Slater is 31 years old, and she's a bride in, I believe, Nottingham, England.
Oh, okay.
And she was supposed to get married to her partner of 10 years, and she found out just before the wedding that he was cheating. They'd been together for 12 years, excuse me.
Oh, hey.
And
12 years and then got engaged.
12 years they were engaged, and then they split because Lindsay found out that that he was stooping somebody else. So what's not clear is exactly how far in advance of the wedding she found out, because a lot of times, like, the hay is in the barn with deposits and whatnot.
Sure.
But she basically decided, forget him. He's not going to be part of it. I'm not going to marry him, but I am going to have this party that we already booked. So it said that the wedding cost $46,000. She confronted him about the affair. He left the family home distraught, and she canceled their upcoming ceremony.
Yeah.
But she kept the rest of the big day's reception plans in place, calling them a celebration of freedom from him. She messaged her on Facebook, she messaged her guests, 60 to 70 of them, telling them that they should still come to the reception. Things were like, she gave them the scenario, you've already RSVP'd, but homeboy's not going to be a part of it anymore. And so...
Do you go to that?
It says that 60 to 70 did come to the reception.
Why not?
You tried to hook up with the bride, are you?
No, I would assume that the bar is open. I am always open to going to the open bar.
It consisted of a sit-down meal, speeches. I wonder what people said.
Do you just, like, talk S about the guy?
There was a DJ and bongo players. And then Lindsay even went on her honeymoon and just gave the spot to her friend Melissa. They went to Greece for a week.
Huh. Well, I mean, don't get me wrong. That all seems cool, but it also seems like you just blew $46,000.
My guess is she wasn't going to be able to get most of it back, or he paid for most of it and she wanted to stick it to him.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose, right? I mean... You could do worse than that, but, like, if I paid $46,000 and then, I mean, I don't know if I would have a good time knowing that I just blew $46,000 on one party.
So she said,
which, by the way, is why $46,000 weddings are stupid and pointless. That's the dumbest thing. Like, regardless of what you think of marriage, the idea of spending $46,000, like, imagine if I just told you we're going to throw a party. We're just going to throw a party. And you're like, hey, is this going to be the best party of all time? You're like, no, not really. You know, it's like, I'm not going to hire like my favorite band or anything.
Oh, is Billy Joel coming to play?
Yeah,
no,
no, it's just a party, and you know, I don't know, there'll be some people there. Were your friends? Yeah, a bunch of people I don't really care about, and I don't know, I'll be really busy, so it's not like I'll get to enjoy the entire thing, and you know, and then you know, afterwards we go on a cool trip for a week, and you're like, oh, how much you gonna spend? You're like, oh, $50K. You'd be like, dude, you're out of your effing mind. But when it comes to the wedding, we're like, yeah, let's go.
Once in a lifetime.
$46,000. I'm like, holy hell.
It says, while she isn't ready to move on just yet, Lindsay says her solo wedding made her feel, quote, strong and empowered. She's a lawyer from Nottingham. Also said, I didn't know how I was going to survive. I was distraught, but it was too late to go back on the wedding plans. All that money had already been spent.
I guess,
so
right?
there's a big part of me who thought, I'm free. It's better to just start a new era this way.
I mean, I guess that is like, what is that? Like the Dierks Bentley, right? Like drunk on a plane or whatever. Like you spent the money.
Great
you ain't
song.
getting it back on a honeymoon.
Might as well get drunk on the plane.
Yeah. I don't know if I'd still have the party. I'd do the honeymoon thing.
Well, that's where you have the party and you invite the other hots.
You invite the hots, yeah.
You're like, hey, come on. Let's see what's going on.
I can appreciate that. Yeah, I guess, you know, once you put that money down, like you can't come back. But I would think that'd be weird as a guest because despite her being like in a good mood, you know, she's just miserable.
Yeah.
So it's kind of weird. You're just like dancing on someone's funeral.
She said,
people do that.
I thought so too, but she said, I'm glad I did it. I really enjoyed the entire day. I was so surprised at how supportive everyone was. I was surrounded by so much love. It really reminded me that I just didn't need him.
Yeah.
I mean,
wear a white dress?
Which is too bad that I guess it took all this to figure that out. And you would have liked to have realized that before you had this big party. And but, you know, I guess trying to make lemonade out of lemons.
I just can't believe that someone dropped 40. I mean,
I can.
weddings are. I was at a family. I was at a gathering this weekend where I was trying to make magic happen for the great Will Ortner and a hot Asian blazer dancer.
I'll boo her.
The BTJ, like she's got like this Asian community. And so they do these family dinner things, and they're not family. It's a big group of Asians that invites a bunch of Asians, and they all get together and they have a big old gathering. And there are, like inside of that group, there are certainly family members. And let me just tell you something. When you've been dating someone for like almost 5 years, don't go to one of those. Like I don't go to many of those. This is like, yeah, that's your thing. Don't go to one with a bunch of old Asian women when you aren't married after dating for a certain amount of time. The amount of heat. I walked into a GD Hornet's nest. I had no idea. I was like, yeah, I'm going because the food's amazing. It's like just a full-on Vietnamese spread, just incredible food. And I'm like, yeah, I'm there. I got open bar. I got unlimited Vietnamese food. Freaking delightful. No. I just walked into a bunch of angry old Asian ladies that were mad at me for not being married. It was some serious heat.
Didn't expect souk on the grill when you got there.
No, I just showed up and it was just double barreled. And that's my fear is
Asian women?
Well, that's true. That's a fear. But the amount of at a certain point, so that guy had been engaged or they've been dating for 12 years.
They'd been dating for 12 years. They had been getting engaged since 2020. So they're engaged almost 4 years.
The longer you go, right? I think the bigger the bigger you have to go. It's like, hey, a-hole, it's been this long, we're going big. I don't think I could do it. I really don't think. I think inside I would just die. If I saw the bill and it was $46,000, I think I'd get divorced just out of a matter of spite. I'm like, no, we're not. I would be the one. I'm like,
more money away.
I would just leave. At that point, I would leave, and they're like, why are you leaving? I'm like, $46,000.
I did go to
I just can't think of anything dumber to waste your money on than that.
I had a friend that called his wedding off pretty close to the wedding, and they had already sent out the invitations, but it wasn't the week before or anything. What still hadn't happened yet, though, was the bachelor party. Yeah. So we all went. We'd already booked our flights. We went to Austin for the weekend, and it was a non-bachelor party. So all the guys who would have been there for the bachelor party just kind of raging because the guy wasn't getting married now.
Just let it rip. Wait, was he there?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah. It was like his own Mitchapalooza from Old School. Have you seen Old School yet, Will?
Yeah, I've seen Old School.
I just didn't know. Sometimes, old movies.
At that amount of money, if Snoop Dogg showed up with Don Magic Wand, I'd be like, all right, I got something for my $46,000. But if I go to a wedding and all it is just a bunch of my idiot friends, drinking my booze and then eating a decent catered meal and then some sort of stupid dance afterwards and we're $46,000, no.
For your chicken dance, yeah.
No. I can do a lot of things with $46,000. I'm thinking courthouse, and then we just head to a bar and I buy a couple rounds, and after that, everyone can go to hell.
We'll see what time we have left for the Wheel of Randomness. 3 more stories to choose from when we get back in the club on The Fan.
Oregon Ducks football is on The Fan.
Here's
Also seeing in that wedding story that they had alpacas out there at the reception for people to hang out with. So that's part of your $46,000 bill.
I promise you that if I get married, there will be no alpaca. Again, I like this idea. Wedding, someone's backyard. We head to a local dive bar. You get two. You know what? We'll do like an hour. I'll do an hour of an open bar tab. After that, you cheap sons of bitches, you're on your own. It'll be brought to you by Pub Beer.
Hey, I'm celebrating you. You should be out here shelling out for me.
I'll get Pub Beer to sponsor it. Cheap fun. I'm sure the missus will love the idea of our wedding being labeled cheap fun. There we go.
Have it like Gigantic Wedding, the home of cheap fun.
Exactly. We'll have it at like Kells. They've got like a nice banquet hall right there. You can go downstairs, have a cigar, eat some bread pudding, and call it a day. Gosh, the weddings. I honestly cannot think of something that's a bigger waste of time. Weddings or maybe funerals. I don't know which one's dumber.
Well,
I
mean, the funeral's a remembrance. I'm on the record. I think weddings rule. Weddings are really fun mostly because someone else is paying for you to party.
Exactly. That's my point. Look, if someone wants to invite me to their wedding, I'll show up. You're a fan? Hey, invite me. I'll show up. Let's go. I'll show up and we'll give it a toast. But if you want me no. You want me to be footing the bill for that? I don't think so. Because I know that's the only reason anyone's coming to that wedding is because it's free food and drink.
No, to celebrate your love.
No.
You big jerk.
It's the celebrated open. Rob always does this. Like, I love weddings.
You're dead
I'm like, yeah, how many dry weddings do you go to? All of a sudden, it shrinks up real quick.
Yeah, you love weddings that are parties with your friends.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You don't love dry weddings,
well,
do you?
Who has a dry wedding?
Mormons.
I don't know any of them. Not anymore, at least.
All right, 3 more potential stories. We can do Space National Guard, do fired for peeing in the lobby of a hotel only to sue the former employer, or beheading the whale.
Yeah, let's talk about beheading the whale. Because
what is this?
I'm all for blowing up a whale.
Okay, we know all about that. This comes to us from a story from an interview that was done with Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s daughter, whose name is Kick, by the way.
Yeah.
Kick Kennedy.
By the way, I'm not here to get into a whole whether you like RF Kennedy. I got a buddy.
Nothing to do.
I got a buddy of mine who loves him. Just thinks he's like the best thing ever. Dude, that dude's weird as S. Doesn't mean he's not great if that's what you're into. That dude is weird as hell.
Talking about the bear cub?
So no, that's one of them.
That's a whole other thing.
If you thought the bear cub was weird, this might even be weirder.
Yes.
So this was a story. It's not
to mention the brain worm.
It's not a news story. This was from an interview with the daughter in 2012, but because he's been in the news, it's been kicked back up again.
Yeah.
And essentially, she says that when they were on a family vacation, there was a whale carcass that washed ashore in Squaw Island, which is, let's see, where did they say
that's
got
to be somewhere like
in Massachusetts. There you go.
That's got to the Kennedys. If you ever go to Nantucket in Cape Cod, you can see the Kennedy compound there. Like T Swizzle has a house out there. It's ridiculous. It's like the nicest place you've ever seen.
As the story goes, after learning
the Kennedy compound, not the Taylor Swift one.
After learning a whale carcass had washed ashore on Squaw Island, her dad excitedly bound down to the beach, chainsaw in hand, and decapitated it right there before strapping the whale's head to the family minivan with a bungee cord so he could go home and study it later.
Yeah.
What? What are you going to study from this dead whale head,
Drop it off at Central Park?
Yeah. This is the same guy that, like, came across or might have hit a bear cub and then planted it only to seem like it had been run over by bicyclists in Central Park. Like, this dude's got some weird stuff going on.
Just the idea that you want to decapitate. First off, like, I'm assuming this is like a beluga whale.
I don't know,
because you're not cutting off like a humpback whale's head.
So wouldn't think so.
It's got to be like a pilot whale or like a beluga whale, and you just think to yourself, what the hell? I'll just go chainsaw its head off, bungee cord it to the top of my car, and take it home.
And then additionally, they had to do a 5-hour drive home with the whale on, and they said that everyone in the car's senses were relentlessly assailed as it was nearly excruciating, gag-inducing stenches because, well, you had a whale head dead on the top of your car.
Again, not here to say whether or not that man is crazy or not. or whether you like him. But
Listen to these quotes.
dude is freaking nuts.
Every time we accelerated on the highway, whale juice would pour into the windows of the car, and it was the rankest thing on the planet. We all had plastic bags over our head with mouth holes cut out, and people on the highway were giving us the finger, but that was just normal day-to-day stuff for us.
He just...
At the point when the whale goo starts coming into the minivan, wouldn't you say, you know what, it's time to leave this?
Well, I mean, to be fair to RFK...
it's got a brainworm going on?
Well, once you've chainsawed the whale head off, at that point, right, in for a penny, in for a pound, like, you have to see that thing through. You can't just leave the decapitated head on the side of the road. Like, you're committed at that point. So I guess I do admire his commitment to just keeping the whale head.
And again, I wanted to know like
car?
how much he stood to gain by doing this 5-hour trek with the whale. Like,
can he get in trouble for it?
I would think maybe you could.
I don't think you're allowed to decapitate a whale. I don't.
Well, but it was already dead.
I don't care. I don't think you're allowed to.
Is this like decapitating an already dead person?
Well, there's like...
Well, it's not a dead person, but I'm assuming...
I don't know, we got those roadkill rules where it's like if a roadkill's intact, like can't you like pick it up and take it and farm the meat and stuff? Like
I don't
if
think
there's
so.
a deer?
I don't think that. I think
I
think there's a process. Look, I am no park ranger, but I'm fairly certain that you can't cut off a whale's head. Like that one, like the beach whale, like they had to set up, like you can't even go down there and mess with it, let alone excitedly run down with a chainsaw. I can't even get over the idea that his first thought was, I want to decapitate this thing. The hell is he studying from a whale's head?
That's what I want to know. Like, what was he going to get? What knowledge was he going to gain from this?
Scientist also? Like,
no, I don't think
what
so.
Was he getting
Not
from
a
it?
biologist? Marine
That's
biologist?
it's, you know.
He's Costanza.
The story additionally tells us that RFK daughter Kick, 36 years old, has been recently seen hanging out with newly minted divorcee Ben Affleck.
Oh, well, there you go.
Both Massachusetts folks.
My late grandmother had illegal whale parts. No head, but she dealt in. She owned a boat store in Alaska.
Okay.
And she was born and raised in Sweden, and they have some different,
different rules.
Different rules up there. Yeah, she would often have illegal animal things.
Like, what could you sell, like blubber or stuff like that? Or what was it that she would have?
What are the big? Is it the balines? The big long, like from a big humpback whale. They're like in their throat, and it's like what they use to like filter out the food. They look like big feathers. There's got to be someone out there that